welcome to sCOPe. sCOPe is a consumer live stream event that was developed to inform, educate, and support the public, the media, and all the consumers of safer nicotine products in Asia Pacific and beyond. This is to show who we are, why we advocate for safer options for adults, and to show that we will not be silenced. This is our response to being excluded from the table as the main stakeholders of discussion and decision-making processes that directly impact our health and our right to make informed decisions. Hi everybody, happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to do things a little differently. It's going to be all live and no pre-records, and it's going to be all women actually. No offense to the guys, we love you, but it's time to amplify some female voices. We are going to start with a one-to-one conversation with Lindsay Stroud. So let me bring her in and see if I can do this. Where's Lindsay? There's Lindsay. Hi, Lynn.
Hey, glad to bring my ovaries to the table. Sorry, I had to sit here and say that one.
That's cool. It's all good. I'm glad you were able to join us. There's been a lot of discussion this week on various things that, we've gotten the male perspective, but we haven't gotten the female perspective. And there was a couple of things, loose ends I wanted to tie up. And one of them is the legality of a lot of things that are going on, and a female perspective about how do we address what are the issues. So I think the best way to start right now is let's talk about, you do data and you do statistics, but you also have worked in political offices and you also studied a little bit of U.S. constitutional law. So let's start with the law of sovereignty. What I mean by that is that the WHO cannot tell sovereign nations what to do. They can issue guidelines, correct?
Correct.
But they seem to be using third parties, NGOs, to help countries develop policy that suits those guidelines. So can you kind of explore that and explain to people that whole process as far as you know?
Well, I mean, as far as I know, the WHO it's any country that is following whatever its guidance is. It's literally what it is guidance. It's not, anything that's codified in their own country's constitution. And I know you didn't want to talk about COP or anything and FCTC, but I mean, I'm going to go bring it back to that one. I mean, the FCTC is a treaty. There is nobody actually like putting a gun up to any of these countries' heads, sitting here saying you have to do this. But it does look at when you're looking at the WHO, a lot of countries do look at them as a beacon or like a Jesus type, thing. Like, oh, if the WHO says that this is the way it should go, that's the way that we should do it. But there is, as far as there's not, unless a country actually does change their constitution to implement some guidance that the WHO gave to them, there is not anything that since the WHO started, I imagine that there's a couple countries that have came about since that. So, I mean, since the WHO was an actual thing, which they might have more credence on those ones, but at least for like America or in a lot of the other countries, the WHO is an entity that came about way after.
All right.
So
finding solutions here. Okay. And I bring this up, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Okay. These third parties, I'm not naming them because I don't feel like naming them. I don't feel like giving them airtime. I don't feel like amplifying them. Okay. These third parties have gone into various countries and have written policy or have attempted to take over that constitutional procedure of writing legislation and regulation. Okay. And it's been very interesting because as we saw in Pakistan, they had no tobacco control. And then all of a sudden these people came in and they became their tobacco control and then proceeded to get kicked out of the country. We've seen in the Philippines what happened there with the Department of Health. Okay. And, have you accepted funds from a third party? And they said no. And obviously, we all know how that went out. Now, the Philippines is a consumer market. And the latest one is in Malaysia, where it was finally revealed and decided and understood that this generation endgame was actually unconstitutional. Okay. So we're seeing a wave here and there of these countries beginning to realize that, like, wait a minute, you want us to implement this, but hold on, this goes against our Constitution or whatever the founding document of the country is. So my question to you is, with your political background, okay, is would this be another viable avenue for people to take when these things are going on in their
Yes.
country? And how would they go about doing that? What would be the best way for them to go about doing that?
Pointing out to their policymakers that a non-elected, unaccountable apparatus is deciding that is completely eroding the constitution of their country. It would be one of the better ways to do that. But then again, you might piss off your policymakers if you do sit there and tell them that one, because they might not be a fan of you when you're telling them that the WHO is literally ignoring what they're supposed to represent. But starting picking holes into it, I guess, calling on to the same think tank apparatuses, and also, yeah, just reaching out to your lawmakers to let them know so they can seem a little bit smarter when they go to the table. I
Okay.
mean,
That would. Mm.
sit here and say that on a live international broadcast.
It's okay though. No, I mean, because the thing is, the big part of this is that we've got to educate people. People ask questions, and we've got to give them the answers. And a lot of people are very frustrated, burnt out, just giving up because it's
That's a
like, well,
very
there's
it's
no.
a very smart angle, actually. I mean, with especially you've been a little bit more in the trenches than I have been, but it's very really smart angle is, yeah, questioning constitutionality. I think after COVID, um,
Mhm.
yeah, that you're seeing a little bit of like the holes in the WHO. I mean, a lot of these countries look at the WHO as, oh, the almighty, God people and stuff, and the WHO is literally just a conglomerate of, it's a public trade association as far as I'm concerned, and everything that it does.
Okay, I'm going to get back to that in a minute. When I just want to have this
Okay.
one other question on dealing with politicians. Okay. Um, I know in my experience when I was dealing with things here in New Zealand as part of AFCA, the what we found out was you don't actually need to talk to the politician. You need to talk to their EA, their executive
Oh,
assistant.
their staffer, yeah.
Staffers are the way to go.
Definitely. Yes, the staffers are how you're going to get into a politician. As a former staffer myself, not anywhere. I refuse to ever go to DC, but at least at the state level in the states, it's us. We're glorified secretaries, but we are the ones that are. If we're a good staffer, we are the ones that are kind of dictating our boss's schedule. And
Okay. Well, here's the thing. This is going to be weird how I'm going to word this. Okay. So it wouldn't be much of a stretch to say, then going back to the WHO, they've dropped the ball. Okay. And some
oh,
governments are
F
beginning to
them.
see that.
F them. You won't let me use expletives right now in this
I already had to
lane.
deal with Bogan on Monday. Okay. Cut me some slack. I've survived that. Okay. Jesus, Sam, if you're out
Hey,
there.
I'm on my third round with you. I'm really proud of myself that the F bomb has not came out. Okay, so
I'm proud of you too. So when we talk about that and we talk about, sometimes politicians just accept what in some governments accept just what they're being told because of, whatever, they're the experts,
not
right?
not some governments, Nancy. That's all governments.
Not all, not all. Some of them are bucking it. I mean, New Zealand, they're bucking it. Okay. I mean,
Brazil is bucking it right now. Watching all the cop stuff, like Brazil is really mad because apparently they have a lot of like tobacco farmers or whatnot, and they are
they do.
super pissed that
I
like
mean,
what all
there's
the
a
stuff
court
that's
case in
happening with
Panama.
cop.
There's the court case in Panama. I mean, there is a lot of blowback starting to happen, you know. But here's the
I love
question.
it.
You know, politicians, they care about their image and they care about votes. So
Yes,
in my
mostly
mind, I
votes.
think, yeah, I think, okay, you try to engage with the politician either through their office or whatever. And if they don't, then they're pretty much left themselves up to be fair game to saying, hey, listen, you're not working for me. You're not doing what's in my best interests. Okay. And one of the things we need to do is we need to get a little more proactive.
Antagonistic.
Yeah, proactive, antagonistic. I don't want to say on the offensive, but what is the best way to do that to get the result you want without them just going, screw you, you're a crazy person?
Persistence.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it numerous times. Like, go back to and actually before this broadcast, I was hanging out with my brother and I played that scene where Andy Dufresne. You can actually, all you people watching, you can go Google it. It'll show up on YouTube where Andy finally gets his money, from the state government on that one. But it's a lot of persistence. Be a thorn in their side. I mean, they are your lawmakers. Don't
You
ever
are
feel embarrassed about that one. That you're never going to be, at least in my opinion, you can never be too antagonistic to somebody who literally sold their soul to be elected and represent you.
oh my, very Jerry Maguire of you. Okay, so
I hate all politicians, okay? I'm not endorsing anybody. Welcome to America.
um yeah. So we have to keep this international though. So some of the stuff we say has to kind of relate across borders and stuff. Now
Oh,
here's
they
the
all
thing.
suck. I'm assuming all the politicians, hey, they actually get a little bit worse once you go out of the states. And I thought they were pretty bad here, but
I think it depends on where you are. Okay, here's
depends
the next thing.
exactly. Yes.
How do you think? What is your take? Because I know you were playing that good cop, bad cop, and of course that got when they canceled the cop, right? Or postponed it. Sorry,
Yeah,
postponed.
we caused them to cancel it. They were so afraid of us. I'm joking about that one. My bosses are gonna kill me for like saying
No, that's
that.
all right. I mean, but the reason they used was basically was effluent. We know this now. Okay, we know that it was an issue of, they couldn't even organize a piss up in a brewery. We know this now, right?
They wasted away money, like Panamanian taxpayers, like gave away money to nothing. Like, and then who the heck knows what they did with that?
Okay,
There's
and
no
then
accountability, the lack of
well, that's
transparency.
Kurt was bringing that up. It's the issue of accountability or lack thereof, right? So, do you think, in your experience, that a lot of these delegations are not very happy with WHO for doing that?
I think, well, I think the WHO with the FCTC, it's not the WHO, it's FCTC who did that one, but the little branch of the WHO. But I do think that there's even more scrutiny on that whole, public health system organization club. That what is it doing to our country? This is where I'd like to know. This is one of the things that I would like to know is like who was paying for those delegates to go out there. And then you're going to
Mhm.
cancel this event 2 weeks before the freaking event. Like, you're the World Health Organization. I've seen like scummier DC think tanks that can actually handle their stuff a little bit better than what the WHO handled their. And I'm still amazed on it, to tell you the truth. Yeah, it's okay. Like, it's amazing to me and how much they drop the ball on it.
Do you think that it'll bite them though? That's the thing. Will it bite them from the
Not with
delegation?
not no, not with the FCTC. I mean, everyone hates smoking. They've been able to rally the masses, and I know the numbers, at least in the states, on smoking. Nobody smokes anymore. So, we've lost that whole, I think, narrative. Like, nobody's talking about For you, Skip, the people who smoke. For the rest of the world, nobody's talking about the smokers.
Do you think that the fact that they did that should be something that's a talking point with regards to the advocacy that we do for THR?
Yes.
And how would you suggest that it's done?
What to emphasize? I mean, I think honestly, what's really disappointing is that you didn't see, for the advocacy groups, you didn't see a lot of them actually jumping up at oh, look,
Mhm.
the WHO dropped the ball. We can go, we're better prepared than they are.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, in terms of, you guys, you signed this treaty, okay? You work with these people, right? They set you up for a meeting to make decisions, and then they cancel in the last 2 minutes. How inconsiderate is that to you? Can you really,
Super.
feel comfortable that you're dealing with a professional organization of people who actually have their, pardon my French, shit together? Like, should we capitalize on that?
She dropped the first swear word, people,
I did. I
not
dropped the first one
me.
too. It was me. It was me, Skip.
Hey,
But
I've been trying. I've been wanting to drop an F bomb
sorry.
for a minute.
I mean, how many times can I say effluent? I mean, it's just. But seriously, I mean, I look at this whole thing and it boggles my mind because in the big picture, right? Because you've got Ebola, HIV, COVID, right? All these things that they've just completely dropped the ball on, and a
Oh,
meeting
don't
they it,
don't
it's
get
a
me
meeting,
started on COVID and the WHO.
okay?
Hey,
So I mean,
Taiwan. Okay, I listen to
but
you.
you see what I'm saying? It's almost like we were all sitting here saying the FCTC isn't fit for purpose. And then they pull off something like that. And it's like, well, thank you. So here's the next thing. Now that we have this postponement, what do you think should be the top three things that we're doing right now? I know it's the holidays, but right now to capitalize on this postponement. What do you think we should be doing?
Oh, first thing, get as many testimonials from people who are over the age of 55 showing that they had quit smoking using vaping products. The whole
Okay.
narrative is kids. I mean, if you, I saw it over the summer. I mean, like, I didn't need the 2023 National Youth Tobacco Survey to show me that, like, kids, vaping had kind of decreased in the United States. I was just looking outside of the United States and seeing the whole smear campaign that is happening in the UK and in
Yeah.
Australia and New Zealand right now on youth fucking vaping. I mean, they're all dealing with the youth vaping epidemic now. Then
She
that,
dropped the F bomb. Yep. That wasn't me. That was her that dropped the F
sorry,
bomb.
sorry, I
Carry
went,
on.
oh, the youth vaping epidemic. Sorry, I did drop it. Okay. It's hard not to on that when we were talking about that utter BS. But, yeah, to counter that narrative, I'm so sick of hearing about, kids vaping. I know the numbers. I have the freaking numbers, people and stuff, but like I need numbers on adults. I've been
Yeah.
going, at least in the States, I've been crawling through like the CDC numbers, and even then, I seriously don't think that I think that they only gave us numbers because like I started screaming at them at Twitter. Why are we getting numbers, CDC? They were
Mhm.
asking it, but one shout out I will give to the CDC that
Okay. What happened here?
sorry I got wonky, I'm in
I thought
Florida,
it was me. I'm
okay?
like, oh crap! Did I get wonky?
No, no, it's me.
Okay.
Blame Matt Gates, okay? That's my congressman. He's too busy, trying to campaign for Trump. Make sure his constituents have like stable internet. But I would, going into it, I mean, one of the things that TPA was looking at with doing Good Cop, and the theme was is the fact that we had a collection of scientists and consumer advocates and also a bunch of policy people
Both.
because the cop and the FCCC and WHO doesn't listen to the science or the consumers. So make it so they have to freaking listen to you.
Okay, so we've got testimonials of older people. Okay, we've
Yes,
got
I sent you that video, by the way. Who's that old lady from like 11 years ago? Come vape with me.
I don't know. I don't know who it is. Hold on. I got to look for it now. Now I have to look for it. Hold on.
No, if you're gonna go Google it, it's like vaping in your 60s or something.
Okay,
But
hold
it's
on.
like
I'll
some
share.
old English lady,
Oh,
and she's
who is that old
fantastic.
lady?
I
All
love
right,
her.
hold
Was
on
she?
a second. I'm gonna try to share it. I'm gonna try to share.
All right.
Me and sharing screens. It's scary. Okay, let's see. See if it's gonna let me do it. Now we're gonna play it.
Oh, you got it.
Can you guys hear that?
Come vape with me.
I can hear it.
I can hear it.
I love this lady. Okay.
Much. This is the second time I'm doing this.
You don't
and
have to
I've
play the
got
whole
a lot of
video, but
enthusiasm.
God,
I'm
she's
in the middle of vaping
amazing.
in my house, and I started tidying up. And it occurred to me I would make this movie to tell you how my vaping has grown and grown and grown. I started off with one little device, a little
She's an
electronic cigarette.
accidental
This
vapor.
came in a
I love
box.
it.
She's great.
Just an e-cig box. One box in which there was a charger, a wall charger,
She's
and a
fabulous.
computer charger on a little USB stick, and some cartomizers. That's how we began. In one small
Cartomizers. Okay, I
box.
haven't heard that one
Things
since
have changed.
2018.
I had to expand my storage capacity, and so I found this is a very nice little
She's
glass
great.
box.
I
And
love
inside
her.
is
She's
a
probably
nice
dead
cup.
now. This is from 11
It's
years ago.
horrible.
That was
Oh
the
my
next
God.
size up. In my
No,
garage,
I asked when golden oldies. I hung out with
Stop sharing this. Hold on. Let's stop sharing this.
blister packs
Wherever
of
you are,
spare
lady, thank
cartomizers.
you. Okay, go ahead.
the golden oldies. I hung out with the Florida Smoke Free Association. Sorry, I just lost one of my. Um, but I hung out with them last week, and they sent me a video back in 2020 of Lance. Lance is a great video and stuff, and I was like thanking them for sending me that video, and we're all under the opinion that Lance is probably dead, which is, I mean, I was asking for golden oldies videos, so I mean,
Yeah, but you know what? They're like legacy lives on, and that's always
hey,
a good thing.
my first comment was, well, he probably didn't die from smoking, so I mean, died from something else. That's awesome. I mean, he could have been dead from smoking before he even gave me that video.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just so okay. So testimonials are a big one. What's the second big thing that consumers should and can and should do?
Well, okay, can I go back to testimonials on this one?
Yeah.
With the testimonials, as a former person who's worked with lawmakers, get to your freaking point. I know that your smoke-free journey, yes, it's very important to you, and I'm not minimizing that at all. But lawmakers, especially state lawmakers in the United States, most of these people have real jobs, besides representing you. A lot of lawmakers are busy, and even if they're not that busy, they act like they're really busy. So, as like, if just being brief, literally, I mean, the script that you should be doing is, your name, your age, where you're from, so they can register it. How many years you smoked, how many years you've been smoke free, and what flavor you're vaping, and emphasize the flavor part actually, so they can see, an older person who likes, raspberry lemonade or something. I always use unicorn poop, but that would be my advice to people. Or wave your vape device in front of them. Hey, you think that kids only use this? Hey, this is me. Did I
Taking notes and
lose
I'm
you?
muted. No, I'm not muted
Oh,
anymore.
sorry. I'm like, oh, did I lose her? Like,
No, it's Friday, night. Okay.
Hey, Nancy. Okay, hold on. All the people who are watching this, let's just give a round of applause to Nancy. Okay, she's running this. She's doing an awesome job on it. She shared the screen already. She's rolled with me, and with
I
today, I was
told
supposed to have a pre-record with her, and she got on a recording with me. So
Thanks. But it's not about me, it's about you guys. Okay, we've got testimonies. Second thing the consumer should do.
well, the support. Support your local businesses and call out the wonky ones.
Okay. If you have a local business, in some states you don't even have that anymore. But
No,
if it's
I
not
mean,
local,
I was also thinking internationally, and I imagine that we've got a lot of people who are like watching that actually use like disposables. Which, sorry, I hate disposables, people. For the record, or they all taste like mint. Okay, like and or have a menthol taste to them. No, I
yeah,
smoke
they'll have
Marlboro.
cooler in them. They'll have cooler in them, and I hate cooler. Okay, Skip
Yeah,
is saying write letters to the editor or op-ed. So that one she's done. Give me another
yes,
one.
that's get involved with anything local. Get involved with your people. I mean, there's vape armies everywhere on every single continent, which is awesome. Maybe not Antarctica, but
Not yet. Well, one of the
nah,
things we were talking about last night when I was sitting there with the guy with Carrick and then the guys,
Carrick's so
and
cool.
Carrick is pretty cool, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like one of these things where you can't, like Martin says, you can't give up. But Carrick was very specific about kind of like what you were with the testimonies, but with writing op-eds and stuff. And H had brought up in a previous night, it's been a week, about how make the stuff that they put in the media that's so negative, which frustrates all of us, right? How you get published in your local paper. And it's basically about the headline, keeping it short, keeping it sweet, keeping it kind of sensationalist or outrageous because you're trying to catch, the guy's eye, the press guy's, the editor's eye, right? And then use that first paragraph to outline what you want from them. And that's kind of like taking a page from their book. Because if we think about this, right? The stuff that they put it that's being placed or planted in the media, and I use planted, and I don't care because I'm going to say planted, and well, come after me, Palmerston North. That's what they do. So we take a page from their book and throw it back at them. But should we include, hey guys, the WHO is doing this, and you guys, are supporting these people, and look at what these people are doing. What are you doing for us? That kind, instead of being
I
so
think you should include that actually. The WHO doesn't listen to me. WHO has snubbed me. I was a smoker. WHO's policies never saved me, but here's this, consumer driven device that should be emphasized that like government policies did not get you to stop smoking. I actually had to do I hang out with the cigar people, okay? Full disclosure, I represent all of the tobacco world from, I guess not representing, but I'm writing, helping out with them on policy, but I got asked about youth cigar use and from the Tobacco Control Act, and I actually did the numbers yesterday looking at it, and it was amazing to like Bloomberg had did a somebody writing for Bloomberg had done a op-ed like the day before about how, tobacco companies just circumvented the 2009 Tobacco Control Act to sell more cigars, but there was no evidence to prove it. And right now, they're all decrying a youth vaping epidemic, but all of the numbers are showing that there isn't any. I think that what you're seeing in the UK and New Zealand is that they're now starting to look at youth vaping like they were never looking at it before. And because it's all going down the states, that they have to decry something. But I think one of the most powerful things is, yeah, getting all the anecdotes together of the adults who have used these products to quit smoking and
Yeah,
keep
I mean,
emphasizing it and keep saying the same freaking thing.
keeping I mean, this is one of the things too, is, the messaging that we all use, regardless. I mean, it has to be within the context of where we are. I get that. But if that's why I'm trying to tease these things out of you, because I think if the messaging is standardized, yet within the context of the individual country situation, kind of like what they do, they standardize and they don't give a damn about the context, right? Do this. We don't care that, all your tobacco farmers are going to be, broken, your children are going to be starving, right? But the same thing, the standardization with the context, and we're all saying the same thing because
Well, I
somebody's going
think,
to have to
well,
pay
I think
attention to it.
it, I think it goes back to the testimonials that you're doing. Instead of giving a diatribe about how, you quit smoking and everything, literally just giving the little script that and Skip and I put together for Golden Oldies. Yeah, I do, but it is very efficient and gets like straight to the point. I guess if you're gonna give like a statement, big health failed me, from my addiction from big tobacco, and I guess consumers, consumer driven. I'm not a PR person. I work at a think tank. You're asking me for a PR script, and I don't know
No,
how to do that.
no. I'm just asking. I just want your honest opinion, because sometimes it's better to ask somebody who isn't an expert in that, their perception of it. Because, I talk to people that don't smoke or vape, and I say, okay, what do you think about this? Because I want to know how we can engage John Q. Public, or Joan Q. Public. Sorry, ladies. That's making everything relatable, right? So we've got to make it relatable to the politicians, but we also have to make it relatable to John Q. Public or Joan Q. Public.
Well, you're right too. That we also have to get a rallying cry that can be emphasized as much as what our opponents have. I've sat there in enough hearings in the states to, I know what, like, they all have buzzwords. You're right that there is really no buzzwords in our community, unless like tobacco made them. Right now
Yeah.
it's disposable vapes, okay, and like we're getting it in the states because we've got people who are pissed off about their market share. Definitely nothing to do with public health, but thank
Well,
you.
public health. Here's something that you and I have talked about. We should probably explore. Big tobacco versus big health.
Big health, thank you.
Go
Oh
for it.
yeah. All right. Yeah. So Nancy and I were talking about this earlier, and like I had done the numbers, and if you start looking at, what what you think that the tobacco companies are getting, because welcome to land of the vague. Um, you can't really figure it out. But like I did the numbers because in the States, like tobacco actually, as far as I know, they don't really track their sales, but they have to track their sales due to the master settlement agreement. So when I did the numbers for Michigan, I looked at it and I figured out, big tobacco probably walked away, or all the tobacco companies probably walked away with like $1.6 billion in 2022. Taxes, the federal and state walked away with about $1.5 billion, but public health walked away with $5.3 billion. And doing the math on that, for every $1 that like big tobacco got from somebody smoking, public health got $3. And then I started talking to Skip on Saturday about this, and I was like, well, think about all the jobs that this is creating. I'm going to get in so much trouble for this, but it should be instead on this one. I mean, I've been sitting here for the past 4 years now wondering why there is such an argument over something that's safer. Like, that's the one thing I still cannot wrap my freaking head against. And especially here in the States, that like I'm fighting with Democrats that are going after this safer alternative cigarettes, and they're the same people who want automobile manufacturers to only have the battery, the electric vehicle, but we
Yeah.
can't have it for smoking. So I just don't get it. I'm also like, I'm curious, and this is the numbers that I'd like the CDC to look into. Like, for every person who smokes, how many jobs does it create?
Yeah. I mean, you and I had that discussion, and I kind of guesstimated it around 130.
I think it's
right?
158 is what I actually in my head is really what I would. And you know what? I might go sit there and try to do the math with all the
If
numbers
you,
that I freaking have.
if you want to go on
Okay.
a map, so if you would do that, that'd be good. But I'm thinking, I'm thinking 130, and I'm thinking like from farm to retail. Do you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? All of it. I mean, it's the people that plant it, it's the people who tend the crops, it's the people who harvest the crops, it's the
Oh, I'm
people who
thinking of everybody. I'm thinking of everybody who's involved with getting a cigarette to you, but I'm also thinking about everybody who's involved if anything goes bad with you for smoking that cigarette. So, I
yeah,
mean, that's been looking when Michigan gave out that $5.3 billion number, they sat there and said this includes everything from ambulatory services to pharma to end of care stuff, and it's like, okay, so you're looking at this that way. Why do you get mad at like tobacco companies for looking at it the same way? And they're literally talking about just selling the product to somebody. You are literally talking about all these jobs that are created after the product's been sold and has caused problems for people.
yeah. I mean, and now look at that, and you take that and compare that now to the cost of the pharmaceutical assistance that is available to help people stop smoking. That market, it's a lot of money, and
It's
a lot of
a
that, and a
shit
lot of
ton of
that money.
money. So, pardon my
Hold on.
French, people.
All right, let's break this down. Okay, a lot of that money, just like the MSA money in the states, okay, a lot of that money funds health systems, or it funds research. So if you're cutting into that, and you're cutting into tobacco excise, and you've got an MSA, which that money was never really, it was supposed to be allocated for public health, and we all know roads and everything else. Okay, you've got people flipping out. Now add some COVID in there and the post-COVID epidemic economic meltdown.
Well, what would
Yet,
happen if everybody quit smoking tomorrow? That's what I really
but
like. Like all the public
this
health
is
is
what
like,
they
we
want
got to get
everybody
rid
to
of
do.
smoking. And
But
it's
that's
like,
what they want everybody to do. And they say that that's what they want everybody to do. I don't think that's what they want people to do.
no, no, I don't think so either. And I think it's more
Because
than big. I think it's more than big pharma. I mean, there's a whole racket in big health. Is honestly, I mean, from the ambulatory services to the pharma companies. I mean, and it's all subsidized, at least in the States. And oh wait, no, in a lot of other first world countries, actually, it's all subsidized there.
yeah,
But so it's a big racket.
I mean, because you could probably produce. Let's think about this for a minute, okay? We're talking about safer nicotine, non-tobacco products, right? Let's just talk about what Shenzhen, where they do all the e-cigs and everything. That's all the independent stuff, right? It's so much faster, so much cleaner, a cleaner manufacturing process for the most part. Okay, I mean, and they can innovate so quickly. I mean, God, do you remember Fast Tech? Clones like
God, you're
that, right?
aging yourself, but yeah.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. I've got the gray hair to do it anyway. But you've got something that could conceivably help more people and be better on the economy, but they don't want to lose that. But when I say that, I'm not discounting the tobacco farmers, because there are people in Asia and Africa and Latin America, and these people, this is their livelihood. And if they lose tobacco, then what happens? So why then? This
Brazil,
is what
the
Brazil, right?
Brazilian guys who are pissed off about cop. Yeah.
But when you think about it, okay, like Nirvana said, LMIC countries, tobacco production is a main commodity, and it is, okay, and they make more money growing tobacco than they would for food. Okay,
Well, also
so
from what I remember too, the tobacco crop, once you've actually done a tobacco crop on your farms, it's pretty much all you can do. You can't really convert your farmland into something else.
I'm not sure about that. It would make sense? I would understand that, but
Uh,
um, but
Civil War
here's the thing.
history.
It's cool. Yeah, it's a Yankee thing. Um, I don't remember Civil War history. I'm lucky I remember anything, but in those countries where they produce tobacco, why wouldn't, if governments know that the safer nicotine products people like them, right? And why aren't these countries that are producing the tobacco, especially when they have an interest in it, why aren't they creating safer nicotine products? Now I know ITC in India was attempting, and I know Japan Tobacco does. I know Korean Tobacco does. Okay, but but these
You just
countries
like pointed out countries that own tobacco. Like they actually,
have
the
government
governments have a stake in tobacco.
state-owned tobacco, right? Or interest, state-owned interest. But anyway, so some of them have considered, going into the new market and transitioning their manufacturing to a safer product. But yet, if you think about it, those are the countries that produce the most tobacco, or most, except for Japan and Korea, because they're separate entities altogether. But let's use India, China. Let's look at
China.
India, China. Okay, they keep getting awards from the WHO. It's like, huh? How does this make sense, right? So that's tobacco. We're on pharma now. Okay, let's go back to pharma for a minute.
We're gonna bring
So
up
pharma,
fentanyl too. I mean, we got China in the mix.
but you know what I'm saying? Well, China had the opioid thing and the opioid. We're not going there.
China
No,
had
we're not going
COVID. Okay, if zombies happen, dude, they're definitely coming out of China, and we won't know about it till 6 months later. And the WHO will still be applauding them, telling them they're doing a good job keeping the zombies away.
Okay, hold on. We've got a comment from
Sorry.
H. H is watching. Conversion to suitable crops is not an issue. It's a greater than 50% drop in income that's the problem.
Okay. Thank you, H.
So,
I'm
thanks,
not a
H.
farmer, so it's good to
He
know.
knows all that stuff. He knows all that stuff. But that's what I was saying to you. They make money doing this. They survive doing this. If they switch to something like, say, growing tomatoes, let's just say. Okay, although I don't know if that works to crop rotation, but nevertheless,
Well, actually,
it,
they like PMI actually, God, I saw this news article about like 2 years ago. PMI, they've actually used tobacco to fuel a plane.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
and that's where I'd like to see too. I mean, this complete disdain of the all of it, the tobacco plant and everything. Like you just have to get rid of it. Where there might be more innovative ways to be using the tobacco plant.
I mean,
Martin
wasn't
Martin Martin had wrote a really good op-ed like a couple of years ago about how the WHO like stepped into the Canadian company that was like trying to come out with like was doing a vaccine for COVID, and the
mhm.
WHO came out with came out against it because they had a stake in a tobacco company. This whole like what they can't do anything good, even though if you look at it right now, we're in a really shitty place when it's big tobacco that is literally accelerating public health options for everything from whether it's people who smoke to people who have been affected by a pandemic.
I mean, they came out with, that's what I was going to bring up, was a vaccine, right? I mean, most plants, most of the pharmaceutical medicines that we have today have a basis in botany and plants. So every plant actually does have a benefit. And a lot of pharmaceutical is the quest for pharmaceuticals, right? Is the quest of getting plants and being able to synthesize what that quality is in that plant to make a synthetic version of it and get it out to the people. So demonizing the plant itself, when now we know there's studies about how nicotine can help people with Parkinson's, and we know how it helps people focus, and we've got people looking at trees to provide to help them to stop smoking and everything else, right? So pharmaceutical can be good, but the problem with pharmaceutical is that it's only as good as the availability and choice that people have to cure whatever is wrong with them.
It's only as good as a shareholder, Nancy.
I get that. Follow me with my train of thinking here, okay? Have a swig of your beer or whatever it is, and just
It's
follow
my
my train.
Red Bull. It's okay. It's a Red Bull, people.
Okay.
No beers until I get off this freaking podcast. But
Be
I'm
done
having all the
soon.
beer.
I'm not gonna hold you all night. I'm not gonna hold you hostage. But See, that's the thing, okay? Is this idea that choice and access is capitalized.
Yes.
That's what I was coming to.
Well, yeah, I mean, from what I read and heard years ago, like the tobacco plant's actually a really good plant for you to, grow something off of or whatever to do all the vaccines and everything. And yet, because of this demonization towards tobacco in general, there's a lot of innovation I think that's being missing. And I think you're seeing it now. It really sucks that big tobacco, at least here in the States, it really sucks that big tobacco got into the tobacco harm reduction game pretty freaking late. I mean, I was working on the stuff in 2018, and I don't remember them really emphasizing harm reduction. And we've kind of lost this narrative, e-cigarettes, even though you and I have both quit smoking using these products. We know how we feel. We're just anecdotes. Um, the science has been lost.
Mm. Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, I can recall a meeting that I went to in Tokyo, I think in 2018. They were working on things. I mean, and some of these tobacco companies have been working on things for at least a decade, if not more.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I don't see the problem with tobacco getting involved in it.
No, I
Okay.
love tobacco getting involved with it. Quite honestly, if I mean, like, I gotta take my libertarian hat off and stuff, but if I was a government person or when I would be demanding that the tobacco companies only offer these products the same way that we're demanding automobile manufacturers to only offer an environmentally friendly vehicle. Um, but what I'm seeing is we're getting the complete opposite. We're not letting tobacco companies offer a safer alternative. We're only letting them sell, things that we know are harmful.
Yeah, reiterating what I just said, tobacco leaves are ideal for cultivating products used in some pharma products. It is a plant. Yes, that's what we're saying.
Yes,
Um,
thank you for your commentary. We love you.
yeah,
He
even
should
though it's
join us, okay? We can bring a dude into this.
he'd love it. Surrounded by women? Are you kidding me? Anyway, the National Tobacco Authority of the Philippines has a display showing things made from tobacco, including soap, shampoo, and pesticide. Yeah, I knew about the pesticide and the shampoo. I didn't realize the soap kind of falls in there. Yeah, you see, H is a fun. He's like the wizard.
No, I just want to know if H watched my pre-records, on the other days, or does he only show up when I'm live to like call me out if I'm doing something wrong?
You didn't do anything wrong. Stop. Um,
I
before
haven't showed my boobs yet, but I might get some money for CAFRA if I
I
do
told
that.
you. I told you already. Okay, I had Bogan swearing his head off on Monday. I can't. I just can't. I just can't.
Hey,
Um,
by the way, viewers, I am working off of like a lack of sleep. It was Thanksgiving today, America style, and fighting with the boyfriend. So
the fact that
thank
she
you,
can hear my voice
Nancy.
at 1 in the
Thank
morning.
you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
No,
Um,
thank you for like letting me. I was supposed to do a pre-record. I was like, that's not happening. I will make it with you on at 12 a.m. I will make that happen.
and it's good. We can start wrapping up because you've only got about 10 minutes. So here we go. What is the plan now? Good cop, bad cop was postponed along with the cop. So
Yeah.
is it going to then take on and start and operate during whenever they decide to do the cop?
Oh, it's totally happening. Hopefully you'll be here. You'll be there at this point. There's rumblings about, it's supposed to happen in early 2024. We don't know exactly. There's been some things about it being in March. There's been some things about it being in January, but we're going to still be doing it. And for people who you haven't heard already about Good Cop, I've said it on a couple of my pre-records or whatnot, but the my boss at TPA when I first started in 2021, he really wanted to go against the WHO and do this just rebuttal session, get experts there, a war room style thing. So we collected about 2 dozen experts, covering everything from consumer advocacy to science to policy, to be these people rebutting it. And the WHO knew about it like a week before they canceled. I'm still kind of like tickled about that and also frightened by it because I don't really want to be on the WHO's radar. But
I'm already there. I mean, the thing is, and this is something that H has said to me. If they're paying, if they call you out, that means they're paying attention. If they're paying attention, they see you as a threat. Because otherwise, they wouldn't bother.
it still doesn't, when you're like, I'm an F head to begin with, I don't, and I like to like walk around life not really
I
thinking
know,
that
but
anybody's paying attention to me.
they are. And I mean, and if they are paying attention to you, that
Uh,
means you're saying something that resonates, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. And that's the thing that we're supposed to be helping all the other advocates do, right?
yes. And for all you other advocates out there, I mean, it's easy to do. Okay, just be persistent.
Be persistent. Be yourself. Tell the
Yes.
truth.
Yes,
Okay.
honesty does get you far in this world,
And
actually.
be assertive. I mean, I think for women especially, and I had this discussion with Jess Perkins the other day, we've got to be a little more assertive. We got to support each other a little more because I think that we do get, when we're around the guys, we kind of go in the background. I mean, I'm a person, I actually, believe it or not, I actually like being in the background. The only reason I'm comfortable here is because you're my friend. And, I have people I'm talking to that I'm friends with. So I'm like, it's just like we're hanging out having a beer, right? But women in general tend to take a backseat role, let the men do it. I think that's a mistake because I think we have something to bring to the conversation and bring to the narrative that the guys don't have.
Yeah, wait, just to add to that one, I mean, like all the organizations that I've seen that are ran by women run a lot more better, or run a lot better than the ones that are ran by men. Um,
I'm not saying as a man hater, Linz. We're not going into man hating.
no, I love men. Okay, I love them. I hate them at the same time. I'm not, beating down men and stuff, but
The approach is different. Here, this is
yeah,
Jax just posted something.
I-
If you want something done, ask a woman. If you want something said, ask a man, or that's the narrative. That's actually very true.
so true.
Yeah, I know. So, give me your final. You've got like 8 minutes, so give me your final thoughts. Lovely, go for it. Ramble, rant.
My final thoughts. Okay, people, be Andy Dufresne. Okay, and also don't be afraid of policymakers. Okay, they sit on a toilet just like you do, and they actually have to sell their soul to like get you to actually like them. Okay, like think about it. Like it's prom king and queen. Okay, like don't be afraid of them. Especially, these are the people who are literally voting on whether you're going to have access to something that finally helps you quit smoking, and they don't have the foggiest idea about any of it. They're morons, unless there's somebody who really completely hates vaping and then they think they know something about it, which they don't. But I have yet to meet probably about 5 lawmakers who actually are like pro vaping and know something about it. All the lawmakers who are doing, anti-vape legislation, no, they don't know anything about it. Go into that conversation knowing that you know 100% more than they do. I did it. I mean, I felt like a leper for so many years until I did the PMTAs. I didn't know how PGVG worked until 2020. I'd been spending the past 2 years writing about vaping.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry,
there's a lot
guys,
to
I'm a
understand.
fraud.
No, you're not a fraud and you're not an imposter. I mean, there's a lot to learn. There is.
I
I mean,
still don't get PGVG, to tell you the truth.
we can have that discussion. We'll have that discussion one day. I'll explain it to you. Carriers and flavoring and vapor and yeah, it's scientific. It's too late in the day for you and you need sleep. So we're not going to go there right now, but it's not that complicated.
You're gonna give me
Ohm's
flashbacks
law,
to PMTAs.
Ohm's law would drive you insane, but we're not going there either. because a lot
All
of
of it
us who
drives
started
me insane.
a lot of us who started the beginning, I mean, you had to know Ohm's law. You had to know this stuff. Now, this is the thing that drives me absolutely like bananas is, you can go in and just pick something up and get juice and pour it in and go, right? We didn't have that.
That's my little guy.
Or like this, right? We didn't
The
have that.
pod device. I love it.
Yeah, but we didn't have that, okay? So that's where that knowledge comes from. And like with any
Hey, I
knowledge,
know you didn't have it. The pods are like when I started, okay? And the pods are as much as I can't stand disposables, I can admit that there are so many people who quit smoking using those products are people who never picked up a cigarette because of those products. Which in my head, that's a win. I don't care if you were a never smoker. Would you have been a smoker?
that's a discussion that we're probably going to cover on the open live. So if you do finally not decide to go to sleep, you just come back. Because
Really?
ultimately it's all the tools in the toolbox. Coming up next we've got Carolyn, and I'm going to talk to her. We all talk about Australia like as the redheaded stepchild. Sorry, Carolyn, we do. But ban on a ban on a ban. Let's ban what we've already banned. But I give people like Carolyn a lot of credit because there are many GPs in that country that won't write scripts for nicotine because of the mindset around nicotine. And yet people get angry about, well, no, you've got somebody who's trying to help you. Okay.
Bloomberg
Skip's
has
yelling at you.
Bloomberg has dumbed down our doctors.
I don't think Bloomberg has. I don't think it's Bloomberg completely. I don't.
All
I think
right,
it
no, Big Health
big health has to a certain extent. I mean,
has
but you've
dumbed
got to
down our
understand
doctors.
that health operates on the precautionary principle. It just
Yes,
does. It always has, and it probably always will. Okay. And even though it's failed, and sometimes like I think of fen,
I think of
but
EPA, but when you sit here
you
and
know what
say
I'm
the
saying.
precautionary
Okay.
principle,
That's just a medical thing, and that's just a mindset. Okay. And we approach it from a consumer mindset. We're not approaching it really from a scientific or a medical mindset. And you've got to understand that, from a medical mindset, things are different. And that's why I'm glad Carolyn's here, because I want to talk to her about that. And I want people to understand that, because any tool in the toolbox is better than no tool in the
thank you,
box.
Brian King. I love how you're using that wordplay.
But it's true. And I've been saying this for 7 years. This isn't new. He stole it from me. He's probably young enough to be my kid. Let's be honest. Okay. So, Lindsay,
Sorry.
it's okay. I love talking to you. I didn't
Hey,
pick
no,
on
I
you.
love talking to you, and
I
thank
didn't
you
want you to pick
for
on me. Thank you.
seriously, thank you for letting me do it this way tonight. I
No,
really appreciate that.
thank you for joining me, my pretty. All right. I'm going to let you go.
I
Everybody
hope I
say goodbye
didn't.
to Lynn because she's
I
going to
hope I
pass
didn't.
out.
I hope I didn't embarrass us, guys.
I don't even embarrass anybody. It's fine. All right. Good night, my love. I will see you later.
All right, goodbye.
Ciao, baby. Bye. Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's ladies' night. Can you tell? There's a lot of laughter and a lot of irrelevant stuff, but that's okay. Thank you for sticking around. Next up, we're going to go a little early. Sorry, hopefully Carolyn's okay with that. I'm going to bring Carolyn Beaumont in, and I think this is somebody that you really need to meet and understand and ask questions about what's going on in Australia, at least from the medical perspective. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring her in. Hi,
Hello.
Carolyn.
Hi,
How are
Nancy.
you?
I'm okay.
How are you?
This is the first sound check. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you.
Excellent. That's a great start.
That helps, especially in a live
Yes,
stream. Yes.
absolutely. Yes.
Helps a lot.
Hello from
Thank you for
Australia.
joining us. No, thank
Pleasure.
you for joining us.
Absolute
Appreciate
pleasure.
that. You're going to be the
Thanks.
emphasis. So there you are, because you are the
Thanks for
one-to-one
inviting
person.
me. I'm big. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
No
Delighted to be
problem.
on. I thoroughly enjoyed the last 10 minutes of conversation.
We're insane. Welcome to the insanity of THR. You
love
and I
it.
haven't really had a good chance to actually have a talk. I know
No,
who
I know.
you are. You know who I am. But how about, can you do a brief intro so the people out there know who you are?
there. Okay. So I am from Australia. I always say sorry about that one. Sorry for our policies, sorry for our prescriptions, all the rest of it. So I'm a GP or a family physician, depending which country you're from. I've been working in THR for the last 3 years. And I've come from a very normal kind of doctor background, okay? Don't smoke, don't vape, middle class, all the rest. Haven't grown up with smokers, just learn, the basics about it in med school and come out into the world as a GP with really not much understanding at all about smokers and their behaviour and everything they need. So I just kind of fell into this field 3 years ago when I had finished all my GP exams and I was about to start working normally. I just had some spare time, delved into some areas of interest and came across the wonderful Dr. Colin Mendelsohn and just started to read about it, and I became aware that there was the legislation. This is in October 2020. 2020, that's right. That was going to enforce the prescription model. And I realised all of a sudden all of these ex-smokers happily vaping for years were going to just be caught short, and they wouldn't be able to get their product from New Zealand, where they usually get it. So I thought, wow, okay, I'm just going to look into this. And within a week, I had basically set up my business and started to have telehealths with smokers and just finding out what they needed and prescribing. And I had absolutely no idea whatsoever. My first consult with someone, nodded my head a lot and, yep, sure, that's fine. Hung up the phone, spoke to Dr. Colin. Colin, what do I prescribe? What do I do? So he just talked me through things, and I just gradually learned about it. Just learned about vaping and the importance of it and tobacco harm reduction. And I was a convert, easily. Yeah, just like that. It was like, my God, this is the biggest no-brainer in the world to make this stuff easily accessible to smokers. Like, far out. Like, why is there even any debate about it almost? So that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 3 years, operating an online telehealth for anyone in Australia. So, I have heaps of people from regional towns all throughout Australia. And, the usual story is maybe, a guy in their 50s or so, has been vaping for a few years. Life has just turned around since they stopped their 1 pack a day. And, they know what they want and they're scared they're going to go back to smoking again. So I learned from them. I just, keep their prescription going. If I get new people in, someone who's smoking who just wants to trial it, maybe they've heard some myths, some fear stories, but they're also kind of open to it. So, I'm now in a position where I know kind of enough about the field, I guess, that I can, educate them and, sort of offer what's around.
You know what? I'm going to say something. Thank you for doing that, because I remember when that whole thing came in, I have family in Australia, okay? And they're like, where am I going to get a prescription from? What am I going to do? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, one of my cousins she transitioned from smoking to vaping, and now she doesn't do anything, which, is the ultimate thing, right? For some people, not everybody, but some people.
Yeah. The life's not perfect.
It's not perfect, and I had another friend who was working as a nurse up in, I think, Christmas Island. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think it was Christmas Island. And she was talking to me about, this was before the medicalization came in. And she's like, all these people, the smoking, the drinking, she goes, and no wonder none of them make it past 55, right? So there is this issue of access and choice. And what a lot of us don't understand, and I'm not sure that you have the answer for this, okay, because you came into this late in the game, but why the doubling down? Do you have any idea why the doubling down?
Oh, my God. Yeah. Look, it's certainly not from a health perspective, from what I can see. I mean, of course, it's politically proven. It has to be. I mean, I guess, look, we've got the stakeholders in terms of Cancer Council, those sorts of groups that have always, been very much about like 100% smoking cessation, and vaping yes, they probably know there's some evidence there, but they're just, I don't know, they're just not open to it. I wish I knew. I really wish I knew.
Yeah.
It's so
But you can
frustrating.
you can buy a pack of Duries in the store though, right?
A
You can
pack
get
of what, sorry?
cigarettes anywhere.
Supermarket, anywhere, petrol station, whatever, anywhere. And if you don't have your vape strip, then you just go to like whatever, one of the tobacconists or those little shops that sell like incense and stuff, and they if you can smell incense, you know that they're going to have vapes. It's kind of that's where you get it from. But try getting your nice liquid, your good quality stuff. You can't get that on the illicit market easily, to my understanding. So smokers want to use nice products, don't they? They don't want to go to crap. They want to use good vapes.
Now, if I was, let's just say I'm the average Australian, I have the wrong accent and the wrong hair. But if I was the average Australian, I dropped my phone. And I came to you and I needed a script, right? So you write me a script. Okay, I can go buy nicotine. How does that process work? Do I have to go to a specific chemist? How does that whole process work? Because I don't think a lot of us understand that.
No. Well, at the moment, until the government do their next doubling down on their previous doubling down, at the moment, the person can still get it through personal importation. So with my script, they go through their usual favourite, usually New Zealand supplier, place the order, and then just at the time of payment, they need to upload a script. And if they don't, then, they can't proceed any further. But if they've got the script, then they can get their order and it comes through customs. And, I don't know what percentage of products customs actually check, but it's a few. I get a few customers come back and, to me and say, oh, look, the script didn't exactly match up what they ordered or this and that. So, the product is being withheld until they get it sorted out. And then they're like, Caroline, I've run out of product until customs releases it. I have to go back smoking, and I hate that. And so that's the best situation, honestly. If the personal importation is banned, which that's really what the government is wanting, then it's going to be pharmacy only, and that's a real problem because pharmacies aren't ready. So in that situation, they'll still need a prescription, but they won't even be able to order it via personal importation. It's just going to be based on what Australian pharmacies stock. And you think that GPs in Australia don't really understand the field. Pharmacists don't even, they don't understand it any more than doctors. So, I'm like today I spent an hour with the pharmacist just talking to them about the whole issue, and they were sold by the end. They're like, oh, wow, they didn't realise that there were good products and that they could be so useful. And, they've signed up with, well, when I say signed up with me, sort of partnering with me now so that I know I can send someone to them. But that's one pharmacy.
That's education. It's a lack of education. And this is the other question that I have. I've got a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to hit you with this one, though.
Yeah.
When you write a script,
how long have we got to chat? Is it an hour? I don't know how long we can play.
We've got an hour, and then we can go over an hour because this is all live tonight. So if we go over an hour, we just bring other people in.
Yeah.
Are you limited when you write a script? I'm going to presume you're limited to a 90-day script, and I'm going to presume that you're limited to a certain nicotine limit. What is that?
Well, actually, that's probably the one good thing that Australia does. It's surprisingly unlimited. So I can prescribe any strength. So I frequently will prescribe someone's 100 mg, and then they just happily mix it and, go on normally. And I can prescribe normal pods and just, whatever, anything in between, 50 mg disposables, whatever. So that, at the moment, that's good. But again, when the government doubling down happens, which might be before Christmas or maybe early next year, we really don't know, they are proposing a 20 mg limit. So that's very problematic. Yeah. So at the moment, I've just been saying to all my patients, I actually hate calling them patients because they're not. I'm not some authority above them telling them how to live their life. They're my customers. Yeah. But anyway, I've just been telling them, look, just stock up, get your script, bloody well stock up, because we don't know what's going to happen. So at the moment, flavours are fine. Any flavours, not a problem. But yeah, they're looking at limiting that to tobacco and a mild menthol. So they can't even say menthol, so it's got to be mild menthol. So, that's right, and banning disposables, probably banning liquids, closed pods only. So a 20 mg closed pod, that's it.
Yeah.
So that's apparently what the government are going for. There's some of that still has to pass through upper house, and there is a lot of sort of resistance behind the scenes. So yeah, I'm sort of, I don't know, I'm doing what I can, but yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think the government seem to have their people. They've got their favourite people who advise on all these sorts of things, and even though some of the advice in different areas of health over the years have been great, but when it comes to THR, it's just
Denial.
not. Yeah,
Denial's more than the river in Egypt.
and
Denial.
worse than denial, myths, fear mongering. You have journalists now just saying, "Oh, isn't vaping worse than smoking?" Like it's culpable. It really is.
Everywhere. But Carolyn, it's everywhere. This is the thing. It comes in waves. We call it the disinformation, right? I mean, seriously, you say myth. I'm like, no, it's dis, because there's a difference between myth and dis. The disinformation comes in waves. And and the thing that's interesting or sad at the same time is it's all the same no matter what country it is. It's the same scripted stuff, right?
Yep.
Now, the next question I have for you, and I don't know how aware of this you are or not, but one of the things that we've been hearing is that because of this medicalization and because of the attitude over there, you've got two things happening. You've got one, people who would possibly consider to vape decide I'm not going to do it because it's more dangerous. And then the other side of it is people that don't want to, that either can't afford to get a script or do the consultation, and it's just booming the black market. Are those statements true?
Yep, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah,
that's sad.
Yeah, I've one of the, I think it was the GFN this year. One of my presentations was about all the barriers that people have in Australia to getting a script, and there are so many barriers. Cost, obviously, and the things like the time that the hours the clinic is available for. Then you've got geographical location, on top of the fact that there's this stupid authority process that's needed for GPs to be able to prescribe in the first place, which apparently the government are dropping that, which is one good thing, but it's not really going to help. Then good luck trying to find a GP who will prescribe. I have customers come to me, they say, "Oh, I spoke to my GP and they said they won't prescribe because it violated his ethics." So his ethics, what the hell?
Yeah, okay. There's a problem here that I'm seeing. Okay, and if they're not going to allow import, are they compelling chemists to carry it like they would a Panadol or something like that?
Well, not that I know of. I mean, pharmacies are completely unprepared. And look, some probably non-surprising products. One particular closed pod product in particular has been very active getting into pharmacies, but they're, we've got, I don't know, it's probably something like, I don't know, maybe 2,000 pharmacies in Australia, I guess. And yeah, look, I don't know, maybe we've got 200 on board. But even that is just for a very limited range. They might stock 2 or 3 lines at the most. So
Yeah, because I know Bargain
I-
Chemist, we've got Bargain Chemist and Chemist Warehouse on this side of the ditch. And they were for a while carrying like pod systems, but it was only menthol, mint, and tobacco. That was it.
Yep.
Now I'm not sure what they carry, but you know, it's interesting to me because there is a manufacturer that I know over there who shall remain nameless, who is benefiting from all of this, and you and I both know who it is. And I had a discussion with him in Melbourne about 5 years ago, and I looked at him and I'm like, I know what you're up to, and he succeeded. Okay. It concerns me that the Australian government doesn't acknowledge the fact that if you have an illicit market, you have no control. Because, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, to say, I mean, yeah, I guess the chest beating of the government is that they are somehow going to be able to control the illicit market through all of this doubling down of regulations. And that's the thing, we're going to stop it. We're going to stop kids taking it up. We're going to stop the illicit market. It's all going to be, you know, script only, pharmacy. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be clean. All these smokers are going to get this holistic care. It's rubbish. It's just rubbish.
It is. It doesn't work like that. I mean, and it's a sad day when, you know, a country that used to be like at the top of tobacco control and helping, you know, getting people not smoke and so on and so forth. The smoking rates are stagnating, and you can't even track the amount of people that are actually vaping because it's mostly done illicitly.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like tone deaf.
I mean, I've got, look, I mean, I am one of the major prescribers in Australia, really, and I've got, look, over 3 years, say 3,000 on my books, which is, you know, good, but it's just a drop in the ocean of the, you know, actual smokers. And yes, smokers are as, you know, susceptible to all the disinformation as everyone else. You know, I take every chance I can, just, you know, socially, if I know someone smokes, I just take the chance to talk to them about it. And they usually say, oh, wow, I didn't realise I was safer. They just kind of have no idea. So
we had it here with the stuff that was going on the television. Because, you know, we have our own nemesis over here who also shall remain nameless because I don't need a libel suit. And, you know, we had family, my partner had family, you know, that he'd managed to transition over. But then all the scaremongering came out in the media and they went back to smoking. And I think that's happening probably a lot over by you. I think it's happening in a lot of these countries where, you know, that's the only information they get because there's no education. So as a GP, okay, how many GPs are actually prescribing in Australia?
Well, the official figure says about 5% of GPs. Now, what that is based on is the number of GPs. I think it's 1,500, I believe, who have signed up on the government site to be authorised prescribers. But the thing is, and I've had a good look through that list, many of those GPs are at private practices. So straight away, you know, it's not the government funded bulk billing. So they're out of the reach of many smokers. So they'll tend just to, you know, prescribe for their local patients. So yes, we might have 5% of GPs, which is a lot, but the actual reach of that to smokers is pretty small. So really, you've got just a handful, I guess, of telehealth companies, which, you know, includes myself, are sort of the main prescribers, really.
Do they ask you, like, when they're coming up with these ideas of a ban on a ban on a ban, do they actually contact you guys and say, what do you think about this?
I mean, okay, let's say I've been contacted, but not in a very positive way. I won't say which organisation it was, but an organisation that should know better because we're both working towards reducing smoking deaths. So they should know of me. I've been in the field for 3 years. The first time they contacted me recently was with a legal cease and desist notice because I accidentally was using a stock image of a pharmacist on my website to, sort of promote the fact that you can get these good products from pharmacy. So, they contact me, but it's not in a very nice way. There's a certain other fairly prominent fellow in the field who you probably know who I'm talking about. I actually reached out to him probably just a couple of months ago after GTNF, because, again, he knows of me. We'd never had direct contact. He's someone who is very much, feeding the government, all the lies, to be quite honest. I reached out to him and just said, look, I know that we probably have some different approaches and points of difference, but we are working towards the same common aim, that's to reduce smoking deaths. He replied, not very nicely, just saying, I know the company you keep. What else did he say? I have no confidence that any discussion between us will be productive, and any further contact from you will be met with the attention it deserves. That was it. That was
isn't that funny? In a way that makes me feel good, and in a way that angers the hell out of me, because that's what we face. Okay, it's anybody who doesn't do it. It's like their way of the highway, right? And how are we going to progress when we look at science, medicines, and art, right? And science is obtaining knowledge and learning and progressing. How do we progress when we're so staunch in a quit or die mentality, and that if you're not with us, you're against us? How do we, so it's frustrating, but in a way it kind of makes me feel a little better because you're dealing with it and you're a doctor. But it angers me because you're a doctor. Why are you dealing with that?
Look, I mean, I try not to get too pessimistic about it, because that just kind of, drains me.
It's not worth it. No,
and
it's not worth it.
And I've got to just keep, looking forward and being sort of practical with what I can do. I mean, I guess I take a little bit of solace from the fact that, medicinal cannabis is now very recognised and very legitimate in Australia. And, I don't know how long it's been like that, but let's say 15 years ago, it was totally different. So I don't, it'd be nice to think that in a decade, maybe we'll turn around. But how many smoking deaths are there going to be in that time?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Thailand is the same way. Thailand, you can get cannabis is legal, and it's not even regulated. It's like, the last time I was there was a shop like every 200 meters. I mean, I was like, but meanwhile, vaping is, but Thailand is slowly moving towards regulation now. Okay, and of course, anything in Asia takes forever. So probably, within the next 2-3 years, let's just say that's being like optimistic. But cannabis. Think about Ivana posted something. According to an Aussie survey, most citizens want it legalized and regulated. These would be non-smokers too, wanting legalization. When are the next Aussie elections? You guys have federal and then you have regional, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. I think we're still a couple of years out from the federal ones. But the last federal election, when when government changed hands, there was this great hope that the new federal health minister would sort of see the light and be more open to ideas. But no, that's the thing, is he's doubled down.
Yeah, we thought the previous gentleman was bad, and then sometimes you're better off with the devil you've got. Next question for you. We have been told here in New Zealand that if we want to come visit you, we have to get a script.
You do.
Is this true?
Yes, to carry your own product. Yeah, I get a lot of emails from people, New Zealanders and all over, saying, we're just coming to visit, or New Zealanders, we're just coming over for work. Do I need a script? Yeah, sorry. So,
insane.
Script. Yeah, I just say, look, what do you use? Yeah, I'll just pop it on a script. Yeah,
that's insane.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is actually with that, okay, so as far as I know, legally, okay, I don't think they do. Because I read through the regs and really try to find any loophole I can. And it says that you can bring your own personal use amount in without a script. But the thing is, try convincing customs of that. So, you could, they can argue to their blue in the face at the customs point of view, but the regulations say I don't need a script. Customs will just say, don't care, don't have a script, we're going to hold it. So it's just like, basically you need a script.
People understand you don't want to mess with Australian border and customs.
No,
just
no.
Say you just really don't want to do that.
Yeah,
yeah, it's just not a good thought.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: New Zealand is so completely different, which is mind-boggling. I would have thought that with everything that's going on in New Zealand, that there would have been a softening, but there's not. And what we're seeing people from Australia trying to convince New Zealand to follow you. They've not been successful thus far.
Yeah.
I wonder, I really do wonder how many of these people that are pushing for the ban on the ban on the ban, how many of them are going to be around for a long time? Because the world does seem to be turning. I mean, you've got Japan, right? It's all heated tobacco there. In Korea, it's heated tobacco, okay? But, Malaysia, you've got the Philippines, Indonesia is going there. Thailand is going there. I mean, and the thing is, when we were over there and I was there helping the advocacy groups, what I kept hearing was, we were trained in Australia. This is what Australia says. Yet now all those countries with all those Australian trained doctors are now seeing the light. So it is going to kind of leave Australia kind of sitting as an outcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the Aussie psyche to say that's a good thing or not. What do you think?
I think, there's this sort of, Aussie kind of point of pride, we're the little battlers and we're punching above our weight and we're leading the world in the toughest regulations against vaping. I think Australia doesn't realise how small we are. Not geographically, we're massive, but population-wise, I mean, we're tiny. 5% of the population of Europe. We live in. I think we live in some sort of bubble. We must do. And unfortunately, the next generation of doctors aren't going to know any better about THR because it's the same old guidelines from the GP college. It's the same old teaching. Usual thing, like majority of doctors, don't smoke, don't vape, and are quite conservative. I'm a bit of an outlier, I guess.
You rebel, you rebel, you.
No,
our Nick,
I don't know
our Nick,
but I am. Yeah,
but I couldn't do that anymore.
I didn't start medicine until I was 37. I didn't qualify as a GP till I was in my mid-40s. And I've just sort of been around, sort of had another career and I've sort of just seen life and, you just know that life's not fair for people, life's not perfect, all of these ideal guidelines that the college put out about, you have your one GP and they look after your whole health and all this preventive care and it's beautiful and you get off smoking and you lose weight and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. Like that. People don't access that.
You've got a question. Are Nick pouches and snus available in Oz?
Hang on, I've just got my family making lots of noise in the background. Hello, you're live nationally. That's right, he's gone. What's Andrew?
Right. Nick pouches and snus, what's the status in Australia?
At the moment, they're allowed. I guess like most places, except for Sweden and Norway, it's not really part of the culture at all. But they're allowed, and I get a few people asking for scripts, so that's fine. Usually people coming into Australia wanting to bring it in. But I don't know what the government are going to do about that. I think they're just going to make up policy on the run with that one, to be quite honest. Don't know. Again, it's stock up, guys. Just don't know what's going to happen. I guess, look, if it's allowed, it'll become pharmacy only. So there might be one brand of the nicotine pouches. I just don't know. And you can't get information. That's the thing. It's just
it's like they're treating it like an NRT. What they're doing is treating it like an NRT, right? But yet in NRT you can get different flavors and strengths.
Look, not. Sorry, daughter's just heading out.
Okay, cool. We have a life. We understand. Come on.
All good. Okay, everyone's gone now. It's quiet. There aren't. No, you don't really have much flavour choice with NRTs in Australia. They're not very strong. What are some of the sorts that you've got?
We've got all different flavors, like berry flavors and mint, and you've got different milligrams, and you've got the Nicotrol inhalers and all of that. Yeah, we have all of that here.
There's just the gum, one flavour, lozenges, one flavour, the sort of Nicorette inhaler, one flavour. There's not much choice at all. They're pretty horrid products, actually. And the problem is they're not cheap. Cheaper than cigarettes, but they're not cheap, and that that's something that smokers have usually tried. But they have side effects, and you get rashes from the patches and the spray. It's like it's harsh on the throat. They're just not great products, really.
But isn't it interesting? Here's a point of science. Isn't it interesting that an inhaler is okay, but then they complain about the inhalation of vapor?
Yeah, definitely go. Yeah. Try getting them into that hypocrisy.
Yeah, but that's logic, and I'm guessing that they're not really doing logic very well.
Right.
I'm going to segue into something else.
Mm-hmm.
The COP10 was canceled. Well, not canceled, postponed, right? And one of the big things that they're going to be discussing is reclassifying steam as smoke, aerosols as smoke. So pretty much, well, they're going to change. They want to discuss changing the scientific definition of smoke to include steam and aerosol.
It's nuts. Well, that's nuts.
That's what they're going to discuss. That's one of the big things they're going to discuss, because they're going to, in order to do that, so that they can capture everything like they've done in the States, that everything is tobacco.
Oh, they're going to perform some sort of alchemy, and they just magically transform substances into something else. Is that what they're? Yeah. Yes,
pretty much. That's pretty much what it is. I mean, and it's when you think about. When I think about, I don't know what you think, but when I think about the fact that a lot of people get their information directly from the WHO, and they're obviously not getting it on the ground locally, they're going to hear that, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to have even more vape hating in the world, or you're going to have a backlash, because pretty much if they do that, your tea kettle is going to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take on that?
All right. Like, I would say a lot more than that, but I can't just say it's stupid, because it's so dangerous that I think it's going to. Oh God, that's just got to.
The vaporizer in your kid's room, right? The kid needs a Vicks vaporizer in the room. That's smoke.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. I mean, you'd like to think that it's maybe going to be such a ridiculous claim that finally the media will wake up and be like, "Oh my God, okay, this is crazy." But I don't know.
It's just all these things that go on. I mean, you're doing what you're doing, and thank God you're doing it. But the rest of us that are sitting out here trying to advocate, we're like up against this, and we're just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
How is this even, conceivable that somebody could redefine steam as smoke? But this is how far they've gone. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to presume that you do the telehealth and you still do GP on the side, right? The telehealth's a side gig?
A little bit of GP on the side. It's gradually reducing. I do 2 afternoons a week now as a sort of like a normal GP. But yeah, it's pretty much I kind of live and breathe, pardon the pun, THR. So probably I think by next year, I'll just be solely this area. Because I haven't told you about my other exciting project. Can I tell you about it?
Yes.
So basically it's an expansion of my nicotine prescribing. Am I allowed to say the name of the business?
Yes.
It's a pretty cool name.
Yes.
It's called Smoker Health. Okay. So it's Smoker Health Telehealth. And I'm just getting it established. And what it is, it's national fully bulk billed telehealth for anyone who is a smoker or ex-smoker. And it's very focused in what it offers. It's the preventive care and screening to stop smoking deaths. So we've got annual chest x-rays for any smoker or ex-smoker over 40. We've got blood pressure management. They can go to their local pharmacy, send me through the readings. We can manage that. I can send them pathology forms to get cholesterol tested. Just the stuff that kills, the spirometry to capture the early emphysema, all of those things, just the basic stuff. So I can run it as a fully bulk billed service if it stays limited in scope. But yeah, to me, like it's actually very simple medicine, but it's the crucial stuff.
It's preventative, and it's hitting a cohort of people that normally won't go to the GP because they're going to get growled at because they smoke.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So obviously part of the conversation as it arises will be about their smoking, and they might already be ex-smokers. I'll have a lot of current vapers who, have got a 30-pack year history of smoking, so they still need all of this preventive care and the screening. So look, as those conversations arise, sure. But I'm not going to bang on about it. It's basically
now I have questions, and now you have to answer my questions, Carolyn. Sorry. Hey, here's my question. Okay, here's my questions. Because you're going to be doing this, are you going to be keeping that data and be able to do some kind of survey or study to see, okay, I've got these people, this person, different cohorts. These people smoke. These people have vaped for 5 years. These people, did the transition 5. That's actually going to be a very good resource for getting the data that we need that we don't have.
Yeah. I mean, I've already got 3 years worth of just general quant data. It's their anecdotes. It's amazing how people want to tell their stories. I've got so much data already. I've got a small book, just about, smokers' stories. But yeah, this is going to get a lot more solid data. So it's
some love to you.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it.
I am too. I think that's wonderful. I think we need more of that because I know that a lot of people here in New Zealand, for example, even though we have, regulations and consumer products and stuff, a lot of people don't want to go to the GP because they get growled at because of their smoking status.
Yep. Yeah. And look, I've often experienced with my various customers, initially they are fairly distrustful of me. They can be a bit rude sometimes, but I actually don't take it personally. I know they've had bad experiences with doctors over the years. Once they sort of realise, I'm not, I'm just meeting them where they're at. I'm not going to growl at them, I'm just going to help them be their healthiest self. They really open up and they just want to talk. But yeah, there's a lot of, as you say, just growling. I mean, you as a doctor, you have to, I think, really go into something like addiction medicine or maybe psychiatry to start to fully understand where they're coming from. But, most doctors will, over 50% will become GPs. So it's just, the understanding just becomes fairly limited.
I think it's empathy too. I think it's just basic human empathy that sometimes is lacking.
Yeah.
And it was I was talking to Jess Perkins from THRnet. I don't know if you met her at any one of the things we did last year, but
the name doesn't ring a bell, unfortunately.
She's in England, but she runs Ashra, the Asian, not Isabel, the other one, Jessica.
Okay.
But anyway, she's a chemist. She's a trained chemist, and she came from a pharma background, I believe. And we were talking about this in terms of how women approach things as opposed to the way that a lot of men do. Not all men, but a lot of men do. And this
Are you
was
talking in
something
terms of healthcare or more generally? What do you?
Healthcare and dealing with people.
Yep.
We stay in the back. We tend to stay in the background a lot, but then when we do come forward, we tend to be more emotive. We tend to be a little more understanding and a little more empathetic for people.
Yeah.
So it sometimes makes it easier for people to talk to us, right? And one of the things that Jessica and I were talking about, and what she's trying to do, she does the Women in THR series. You've seen those I'm pretty sure you've seen those on LinkedIn or Twitter, right? And what she's trying to do is she's trying to amplify women in THR. Because we tend to because we stay in the background and because we don't really say too much loud. We speak, we communicate.
I'm not too shy.
Yeah, but but you know what I'm saying is that we tend to get overshadowed by the people who are yelling and screaming, right? And one of the things I find interesting, with the exception of a select couple of people that I can think of in Australia and New Zealand, the majority of these people that are so against us are male. Think about that. I mean, you've got one killer woman over there. I know. I've got the equipment over here. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me to when you sit there and think about it, and you're like, But yet, in that discussion, and this is interesting, I want to get your take on this. In that discussion, one of the guys came up and said, "Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, in tobacco control, a lot of the hard asses are women, and we need to counter that." Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't know how much I could.
It's okay. You don't have to do anything to get yourself
on that, because I guess I'm down in the trenches a little bit. I just
wanted to throw that out there because I just wanted you to know that it's seen, it's known, and you're gonna. If it hasn't already started, and I think I know who that person was you were talking to, if it hasn't already started, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. I mean, the way the regulation going, the narrative will follow.
You just keep doing it. Just keep going. Keep doing what you're doing, okay? Because you know that you're doing the right thing. Here we go. He's back. Back.
It can be. It's a bit frightening in some ways. I will keep going, but in terms of my medical license, what I'm doing is not illegal, but I'm putting my head above the parapet, and it's if someone wants to bring me down, bringing me down via my medical license is a way to do it, and it's like I want to speak out so much.
But and I get that, and I get that. I mean, there are those of us that are doing that for you, But we've got to maintain these connections, even though certain people are going to use it against us from the various people that we talk to or that we engage with or whatever. But they do it. They have their group. We have to have our group because we support each other because this isn't easy. I mean, you figured this out in the last 3 years. I'm pretty sure this is not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. No. I mean, look, I guess I sort of see the opportunity at the moment with the pharmacy only model in that, it's a good chance for me to not worry about the the naysayers and just get on and talk to the pharmacists and try to talk to the doctors. And at least as a health professional, they know that I'm not coming to them as a sales rep. So, in that sense, I can keep, having my voice, but just kind of bypass government in a way.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Let me see if anybody has any more questions for you.
Please. I'd love questions.
I know you do. I'm going to see if they want to join us too, because I know
Yeah.
who's out there.
Hello,
Very
everyone
cool.
who's out there.
Yeah, there's a bit of the usual people, and then there's the boys are there.
Yeah,
We've got the boys. Yeah, let's see. Even though some of them a couple got a little grumpy with me because I said this is ladies' night, but I'm just trying to make sure that we all get our voices out there. So what do you see as the future for the smoking rates in Australia?
They're not going to go down anytime soon, really, because, I think in terms of how smokers are going to be able to transition to vaping, it's going to be even harder. It's going to take so long for doctors to become, really aware and comfortable of it, and it's still that whole access issue. So, we shouldn't have a prescription system at all. My business should not have to exist, but for as long as it does, I'm really not optimistic about smoking rates changing at all. Look at the Indigenous population, up to at least 40%. I would love to be able to do more for that, and that's another little thing I've got simmering away. It's another project, but it's going to take a lot to be able to get that going, to get it out there into the Indigenous communities.
I'm trying to think. When I was last in Melbourne, I think it was for City Health International, which I think was like 5 years ago. There was a gent there whose name now escapes me, and I'm so terribly sorry, but I can get it for you, who was trying to implement something like this up around Darwin, I think, and up in the very northern territories. He was an Indigenous guy, and he was telling me some stories. I was just like, oh my God. And he's like, oh yeah, this is the reality of it. That combined with what my friend Jen was telling me about Christmas Island and Torres Islanders, it's, hold on, we've got something. Skip's saying something. Is part of the problem in Australia that too many, I think, doctors mistakenly believe that nicotine is what causes cancer, COPD. Why prescribe THR if they believe it's the nicotine that's dangerous?
Yeah, look, I hear that a lot, that a lot of doctors think that the nicotine itself is the danger. I'm actually not sure where doctors get that from, because we're never taught that, but we're kind of taught it as a package, cigarettes as a package. The nicotine, the tobacco, it's kind of all the one. So it's never really pulled apart. I don't know. I haven't been able to speak to enough doctors, because it's hard to get a platform to speak to doctors, to be quite honest. I go into some of the usual forums, and usually I get shouted down, to be quite honest. I'd be very disappointed to know that, lots of doctors think that nicotine is the problem. But I wouldn't be surprised, to be quite honest. I think I know there's this huge misunderstanding of the nature of addiction, and I try to say as much as I can, you've got to consider addiction in terms of the harm it's doing. And if you're just pulling out nicotine by itself, where's the harm? There's massive benefit, to be quite honest. Where's the harm? And so therefore, can we call nicotine even an addiction? It's kind of taking it to another level that they're probably not sort of open to, because it's sort of just pairing nicotine addiction, and then it's nicotine equals smoking equals cancer, and it's all just becomes one big kind of mess in a way.
In some countries, I know that the word for addiction and dependence is actually the same word. So they don't make that delineation. But in English, we have a separate word with the separate concepts.
That's a spectrum, isn't it? Like many things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got Jackie from Canada who would like to join us, but she's hilarious because she's wearing her sunglasses. Hold on.
Hi, Jackie.
Jackie.
Oh, you
Love
look
the
like
sunny girl.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Like
Well,
Thelma and Louise.
it's 12:49 a.m. here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mhm.
Well
And
done.
I'm
Thank you
tired.
for joining us and coming on because Jackie's been really good this week. She's been trying to come in and participate, even though the time zones are way off. Jackie, what questions do you have for Carolyn? She's as you know, she's a GP. She's
Yeah, I
Australian.
know she's a GP. I just feel horrible for the people in Australia, and I'm sure it's a beautiful country. It's like my husband has it on his bucket list, and I'm like, I will never go because, I quit smoking with vaping when I was 50 years old. I turned 60 this year. I've been, this June will be my 10th year. And I was a 2-pack a day smoker.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And how would it make you feel? So what?
Well, that's why I meant by my comment. It's like, well, sure, you're allowed to come here, just buy all the cigarettes you want.
Well, yeah, bring this judgment that you need this piece of paper to be able to just do what's keeping you smoke free.
Yeah, it's like you have this like bucket travel list, and it's like all these countries you start crossing off the names. Not on the list. Not on the list.
Yeah, please do. But I know it's galling.
Well, oh God, I'd hate to think how long it would be. I think it's a 20-hour flight.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not good. We know how long it takes to get anywhere from here. And
Yeah,
I've got it worse than she does. I've got 3 extra hours. And speaking of which, Jan's here. I'm going to bring Jan in from New Zealand. So look at this, ladies.
It is.
Hi, Jan.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Jan. Nice to meet you.
So, Jan, what's your take on all of this? Not just Australia, but all of it. Speak to us.
Sorry, my take on all of what?
What's going on in Australia and the way people feel about not wanting to go there because of the script requirement?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard much about people not wanting to go to Australia. I've heard various things like you do need a script or there's an exception for travellers.
Yeah, Carolyn, explain that again to Jan because we've had that discussion before.
Yeah, so Jan, yes, you're right in that there is technically an exemption for travellers that you are allowed to bring in your own personal supply without a script, but try telling customs that as you get to Australia. So they're as behind as the rest of the people in terms of what is the real legislation. So it doesn't matter what the law says. Basically, you need a script because customs will just withhold it otherwise, and you won't see your product for 2 weeks.
Okay, well, I guess withholding's not too bad, but if they're going to start sort of fining people and
well, they could, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got one customs official just having a particularly grumpy day, who knows? Don't want to run that risk.
Yep. True.
Think about the $3,300 sandwich.
Yes.
Last week.
Yes.
Carolyn, you heard about that, right?
Poor little old.
No, I'm waiting to be enlightened. Tell me about what is it, $3,300 sandwich?
$100 fine.
Yeah, there was a poor little old lady in New Zealand who kind of like got to the airport, She bought herself a muffin and a chicken sandwich. She started eating the muffin, decided it didn't taste very good, threw it away, stuck her sandwich in her backpack, took it on the plane, went to sleep, forgot all about it, and got fined $3,300
Australian, I think. Yeah.
for not declaring it.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
This is why you don't mess with Australian border control.
Yeah. I would imagine border control anywhere is scary. You wouldn't want to mess with any of them, and that's
well, that's true.
Horrible. That's horrible. Yeah. There's no need. There's just no need for that.
No, it's the stigma thing that Skip keeps bringing up. Any reason to stigmatize, that's where we're going to be. I don't know, Carolyn, if you know what's going on over here. We finally have a government. Did you read about that? And did you read about the proposals?
I've been too busy building my business, to be quite honest. I'm totally out of the news for about the last 2 months. I've just been glued to trying to build a website and learning how to establish a national telehealth, honestly. So tell me, fill me in.
That's cool. Okay, Jan, would you like to explain to Carolyn what's going on over here?
Okay, so today, and I wish I'd gone to the TAB and put a bet on, because I did predict it was going to be today, Friday. We have a government. We have 3 different parties forming the government. It's a coalition. So we have like the major party who got the most votes, and they have created 2 agreements, one with each other party. And basically, we've gone from a centrist left government to a centrist right government, and they have thrown out everything that tobacco control has pushed through our previous left-leaning government in the past 6 years.
So what are some of what are the key things that have changed?
Okay, so we did have a generational end game where people born after a certain date would never be able to buy cigarettes. That's gone.
That's right, yeah. Okay.
They were going to drop the number of shops that sell cigarettes down from God knows how many to 600. That's gone. We were going down the very low nicotine cigarette path, which was supposed to be the only stock available in New Zealand. That's gone. Yep. Basically, everything that has been put in by the previous government is gone in terms of tobacco control.
And some of it is good and some of it's bad.
Yeah. What's the good?
I think that this is where we're all going to disagree, but we're going to agree to disagree. I think the very low nicotine cigarettes was just optics. I don't see that was actually a practical or pragmatic response to trying to get people off of cigarettes. Now, I look at things a little differently than most people, but the thing is, we've got vaping, and as long as we still have vaping, I can see kind of why they were going to do that. But to me, it was just optics. Okay. Generation Endgame was a bad thing because you've got somebody down the road who's 39 and somebody who's 40, and the 39-year-old can't buy product, but a 40-year-old can. So it's kind of an apartheid thing.
But also, Nancy, if you want to, if you want to talk about optics, that is the optics. Yeah, the generational end game. That was the optics. Because that was not going to help anybody get to our smoke-free goal of 2025. That's just okay, right, we can do this, so we'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 8.6 now. We're supposed to get down to 5% or less by 2025.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see that telling people they can't smoke or they can't buy regular cigarettes or buying low nic is really, it's going to be like an Australian situation. It's just everybody's going to go to the black market, and it's already there.
Yeah. And that's how black markets thrive, isn't it? By restricting the proper products.
You know, I mean, the only thing that's weird in there that we need clarification on is the ban on disposable vapes, because the previous government had never given proper clarification. It said removable batteries, right? But, you know, when you're talking about a pod, right? Okay, I've removed the pod. But do they mean that, like what Jan has, or do they mean this? They mean a removable battery like this is, which is I can take the battery out. We never got real clarification on what that, we never got clarification on that. So that's the only thing that's a bit, but anytime you're instituting a restriction, you, without a fair or a balanced reason for it, it's not really going to work, is it?
No, well, that's the same with the proposed ban on disposables here. I mean, it's, you know, you're trying to stop the illicit market. It's the thing that's going to make the illicit market stronger. Like it's the ultimate irony.
Well, it's already banned, isn't it? If it contains nicotine, it's already banned.
Well, banned unless you have a script, but now it's going to be apparently, even with a script, it would only be for closed pods. That's what they're proposing. So, like, there'll be no way of legally being able to import or get from a pharmacy a disposable or liquid, only closed pods. But that's it.
Okay, no liquid. So no open systems.
No open systems. That's the proposal. That's, I think if I could get to talk to anyone in government, I would actually know what was going on. But from the bit that they drip feed us, apparently probably by March or April is when they're hoping to get that through. But there's definitely some changes that they could happen immediately. And I think they're trying to get that through before Christmas. So I believe the strength reduction down to 20 mg could happen without having to get through Parliament. They can also put some pretty significant import restrictions on, and that could just happen. And, you know, there's reason to believe that might even happen by next week, because I think next week's the last sitting week of Parliament before Christmas. And Federal Health Minister Mark Butler has been saying he wants to get some stuff done before Christmas. So it's like, well, next week, what's going to happen next week? You know, we're just going to wake up and boom.
Gone. We have another lady joining us.
Oh, yay.
Judy!
I ain't no lady.
We have another wench joining us. Is that better?
Hello, Nancy.
From Australia.
Jab and so many people.
It's a ladies' hour. We're talking about Australia, Judes.
Oh dear, are you?
I'm
so
sorry.
Carol, you've got to stop apologizing. It's not your fault.
for our policy. We're rocking it. We're leading the way.
Well,
killing it.
but it isn't your fault, you know. I mean, you have to be a really good. If you're an advocate, you have to be a really good one. If you're in Australia, so I take my hat off to you.
I'm trying to quietly, productively be an advocate without having anyone dob me in and get rid of my medical license or suspend it.
That's scary.
That is
That's
very
scary.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Where are you from, Judy?
Oh, I'm from the good old UK, England, and I I'm sure everybody thinks, and it is on the whole, we can say we're very lucky. But I think a lot of people from the UK are saying, just never say never. Yes, it's been very good, but we're likely to have a different government, certainly within a year. And next government is going to be very different, very. And I think things can change. They're talking about flavours. They're having the same arguments about think of the children. It's all come over. So, watch this space. In fact, we'll see what you do, and then we'll take some tips, because we're a bit ropey here. We haven't had to try quite as hard. Anyway,
it's pretty worrying to think that Australian policy might somehow be held up as this is the way to do it.
Oh, but it is being, and certainly in New Zealand, of course, which they're definitely putting through about the Nancy,
Judy,
all about.
Judy, New Zealand, everything was all those amendments were repealed today. Well, they're going to be repealed.
You're joking.
We have a government. We have a coalition government, and all of those changes are now going to be repealed. So the low nic cigarettes, the reduction in retail outlets, Generation Endgame, and there was something else, Jan. Brain's gone. But yeah, all those really draconian things are not going to happen now.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, what is the government going to do? Because they had this is the New Zealand way.
Generation Endgame's gone too. That was the other one. It's been a long day. But the thing is, Jude, Malaysia also pulled Generation Endgame because it goes against their constitution.
What? Wow. God, yes, clap for me, because if I clap, I'll drop my telephone.
No, don't do that. But yeah, so there's these changes. Like we're looking at the UK, right? And you guys have the issue with the flavors, and you've got the issues with the disposables. Oh, disposables will be banned in New Zealand, but we're still trying to figure out what that means. We need a definition on that. Is it the previous definition of a removable battery, or is it like a pod? But
right,
they change so fast, and it just absolutely makes no sense, because UK, we held you guys as the example. Now you guys are being hammered, and Australia's the ban.
Yep.
And here's New Zealand. So, but the UK. What I wanted to ask you specifically about the UK is this the infiltration of the NGO that I refuse to name?
You may have to, because that you mean that NGO?
That NGO, yes.
Like something to do with bloomers.
Yes.
Yeah. It's women's underwear. Yeah. Yes. In a word, without any doubt. It's and all their acolytes that are funded by them. CTFK, I can think of in particular. There's no doubt it's insidious, except you don't necessarily see it. The only way that you do see it, and I'm sure everybody, all the women here will recognize it, is it's the narrative. So that when you read something that's been put in the newspaper or whatever, oh look, it's the same words, or it's the same paragraph, or it's even it's uncanny. And then quite often, I used to note it when it was like candy flavor, and it's like, we in the English don't use the word candy. It's an Americanism. We don't use it. We use sweets. So straight away you suspect something, and they think they're trying to do it cleverly, but actually no, it is. And I don't know who's paying who. I mean, I really don't know. Does anybody have a clue who's paying who? I mean, we know who might be paying, but how?
Well, this is the thing, and Carolyn, I'm going to say stuff, and if you don't know it or you already know it, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to explain it for everybody, okay? The WHO FCTC can't tell sovereign countries what to do. So what they are doing is they use third parties, NGOs, to go and engage with countries who are signatories to talk to them about their policies. And in a lot of countries, especially LMICs, low and middle income countries, they don't have the resources or the capacity to come up with a tobacco control policy. So these NGOs write the tobacco control policy for them, which is based on a script. Part of that script includes this media barrage that they plant stuff, and I call it planting. They put stuff in the newspaper, the sensational negative stuff, the cherry pick science, to get buy-in from the public. This is what I'm asking Judy, this is what's happening in the UK? And Judy's saying, yeah, it is. But in saying that, some countries have resisted. Okay. Thailand got hammered. Thailand's working towards something now, which everybody thinks about. Thailand never happened. But here it is. It's starting to happen. Philippines, they got caught out because they tried to do it in the Philippines by using money. And the Philippines Senate flipped and the Congress flipped out because, you've got a foreigner coming in trying to buy policy, which goes against their constitution. So, different countries, you've got these things where, one country might seem like they're the panacea. And then they get invaded by these people. And it is an invasion. Okay. And then other countries just said they see what's going on and they're like, wait a minute, what the hell is this? We're not having this. But, the thing is about Australia, for example, UK was held as like, this is the example, this is what we want. Australia, we think, I don't have confirmation of this, is held up as this is the example of what the WHO wants globally.
Yep. And what the rest of us don't want. Yeah.
Okay.
Looking
at ramifications. Yeah.
And that, what you're saying, Judy, about the narrative, the same old lines, absolutely. A classic one about teen use is that we're always hearing and reading that vaping is the number one behavioural issue in schools, and it's word for word. You hear it over and over.
Oh, always.
What about mental health? Maybe isn't mental health a pretty much number one behavioural issue in schools? It's not vaping. But you
hugely,
hear it word for word.
It is in the UK. It's mental health. It's if anything, it's especially after COVID lockdowns, which we're still actually haven't seen the complete impact of that on children, but it's not looking good. And there's so many other issues. And poverty because of the fact that there's an awful lot of poverty, but our mental health service, like most of our public services, is in a dire state. And that's impacting socially. Social services is poor. Really, this is the last thing of all the things in all the world. That is not the number one problem that children have. We know this. And it's very frustrating.
Well, here's the thing. Vaping, alcohol, drug abuse, risk cannabis, risky sexual behavior. These are just symptoms of something else that's going on. Okay.
And part of it is that teenagers will be teenagers and will experiment, and then at some point will start to modify their behavior and turn into something resembling adults as well. So, it's fairly certain that they're vaping use, it's just experimental. They'll just become, low-level vapors down the track. It's not going to turn them into smokers. It's not the number one issue.
Jan and I had a meeting with researchers. Jan, do you remember this guy? Well, he was from the States. Remember we met him in Wellington, and he was doing research on youth vaping, right? And I still remember this so clearly. And he's talking to Jan and I, and Jan turns around and says to him, is that daily use or ever use? What university was that? Was that Michigan? I think it might have been. And she asked him that question, daily use or ever use, and he just went, because they skew it.
I don't know.
Jan, do you remember that conversation? What did he say to you?
Yes. I can't remember actually what he said, but I think what people have forgotten in this whole conversation is that smoking used to be normal. Everybody smoked. Yep. Nancy, we've had these conversations like when you went to high school, did everybody, not everybody, but did most people smoke? Did a good percentage of the kids smoke?
We had a smoking area in the high school, Jan. Come on.
Exactly. And we've moved into some kind of alternate universe. Yeah. There are people now who actually think that if somebody smokes on an aeroplane, it's going to drop out of the sky, or everybody's going to think there's a fire or there's something really bad happening because there's smoke and there's smoke in the aircraft. I'm like, I've seen these comments on social media, and I just think, well, everybody used to smoke on aeroplanes. There were smoking sections on aeroplanes, and like they didn't drop out of the sky. No one thought there was a fire. Nothing bad ever happened, and we've moved. So we kind of moved to that place, and is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Who knows?
I don't mind that people don't smoke on planes anymore, to be honest with you.
I
That
don't
doesn't
mind
bother
it
me.
either. I
It's
don't
great.
mind it either
I get-
that people don't smoke everywhere, but now it's kind of morphed into vaping. So, if somebody vapes somewhere, like an aeroplane's going to drop out of the fucking sky or something, and you kind of think, well, seriously, honestly,
Yeah,
This is
but
why we love Jan.
if you remember, Jan, if you remember, Jan, it also happens if you switch your phone on, because the wireless, the phone signals in the olden
yes,
days, if you switch your phone on, when the plane is taken off, the wireless will cut through, and the pilot will not be able to communicate. I mean, it used to happen. That was what they said,
In the old days,
and
it did happen,
believed
actually.
it.
The old
I think
GSM system.
in the old days it did happen. We actually used to have an MP in New Zealand who repeatedly answered his phone as the plane is taking off, and he was actually fined quite a lot of money.
GSM network. I mean, it's a thing like don't charge your vape on a plane, but you can charge your phone. It's the same battery technology.
I know, you cannot charge your vape anywhere on the plane. Well, why? Oh, because they explode. Well, many more mobile phones have exploded than vapes ever have.
I
But
think
it's a carrier.
one of the problems, and I'm sure, I mean, all of us know that, and I can say that unequivocally, is if however wrong something is, or incorrect, I should say, as long as you repeat it, and they know this. I mean, the people who are against things know this, and it can't be repeated enough to say if you keep repeating the same lie, then people will ultimately believe it. And I was in London quite recently at a conference, the United Kingdom Vapors Industry Association, UKVIA. Who've incidentally now stopped any funding from the tobacco companies, and I'm hoping will. I mean, they do a really good job, actually. They're very good. But the accommodation that I'd booked, sort of half a flat thing, on Airbnb. There was a young chap showing me around. He was from university. Lovely guy. So we're talking about a university graduate, intelligent. He said, "Oh, really? Oh, yeah, but those things are, I mean, it's more dangerous than smoking, right? I mean, this is That's your typical 19, 20-year-old university student. Now, if you got to them, if they believed that, they said, and actually the other one, which is pervasive, is, and because it makes so much sense, only it doesn't, is that, yeah, they didn't know that about cigarettes, but it's so early. Why are we going to know? Because, you know, it's going to come out in another 20 years. As if we are all still living in science at the state of 1960. You know, I mean, 1960 science, when you compare, and that's what I try and tell people, if you compare the science that we have, and just look at a dictionary and have a look at an encyclopedia and see what we did then and what we do now. Everything has, it's the same as how did we know the vaccine would work? I mean, for COVID, I know a lot of people still argue about it, but, you know, things have changed. And you're a doctor. I mean, you must have seen an incredible difference in what you can diagnose now that you could possibly have done.
Absolutely. You know, things back then that took, 40 years to be able to get the adequate evidence, we can, get that in 5 years. It's a totally different evidence landscape. It's totally different, research-based landscape. We can achieve so much now in terms of getting the evidence that will properly support that, yes, we can say vaping is much less harmful. We don't have to wait for another 20 years of science for this. We can say it now. People somehow think, no, we have to wait. We have to wait. And how long do we have to wait? How much?
Cautionary principle.
Yeah, exactly. Ladies, wenches, however you want to identify right now.
I know, I was just going to say to you.
I need to go. So.
Thank you.
It's been awesome.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Lovely to meet you.
Congratulations on your ventures.
Thank you. I'll try not to be deregistered. And hopefully see you at some
we'll see you soon. I'm sure we will.
Thank
Take
you.
care, Carolyn.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hey, guys.
Lovely lady.
I'm glad Carolyn came. Oh, she's lovely. Carolyn's lovely.
Yeah, very nice lady.
You know, I wanted to bring her in because I wanted everybody to see what it's like to operate under that medical system, you know?
That's scary, you know, knowing that, you know, something you've worked 10 odd years in university for, that someone with a vendetta could just come in and just decide, oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other and get her license revoked.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, look what they did to Colin and Afra.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's how extreme it is.
So what have they done with Colin that way? Sorry, I'm not always up to date.
Well, you know, Colin, they accused him of all sorts of horrible things when he was the head of AFRA, and he actually wound up having to hand it over to Joe Kosterich. And then he left the Australian Medical Association over their attitude towards vaping.
Oh, wow.
And that's when, you know, and then a couple of years later, I think he said, screw this, I'm not going to be practicing GP anymore because it was too much.
Wow.
You know, they bullied him basically. And that's what they do over there. They bully people. Not surprising, not unlike a certain other organization we know headquartered in Geneva. They bully people into doing their will.
Yeah.
And Australia is the one that's being held up as that's the example of what they want.
Oh, I know, like the one party in Canada here, the NDP, they want vapes on prescription only.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Judy, is that an issue? I'm sorry, I just interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, don't. Please interrupt me as much. Listen, you realize this is very early for me. You know, I've had 3 hours sleep. You know, I've got to love you, Nancy, you know.
Thanks, Judy.
Yes.
Come on, I used to get up at 4 a.m. for your meetings, so don't give me a hard time.
No, you used to stay up until 4 a.m. in the morning for my meetings.
I would wake up. I would go to bed early and wake up because I'm that much of a geek. Anyway, my question to you is this.
Yep.
Are there people talking about the medical model in the UK now?
No, I would say that it isn't going that way.
Thank God.
But it isn't going that way. But it's very difficult to see which way it is going. And as I have to keep repeating, because I think that's one of the biggest concerns, is that the Labour Party is born out of. I think I wrote something about it on our WhatsApp chat the other week. Labour is down to we know what's best for you, which Conservative is a more liberal party. We know what's best for you, and it's our duty to stop you from doing things that are harmful. And we know better. And there's a certain amount of ideology behind it. And so I think that they will come in with far more stringent. I really do. And so within a year's time, it could be different. But we'll see, I suppose. We'll see. But there's still a lot of good people. I mean, there was at the UK BIA conference in London, there was 3 UK MPs there who were very much fighting for vaping. But there you go.
Okay. It's scary to see the things that are going on over there. That's all. It scares me because we held it up as they were going to be solid, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, what's this? And then of course realizing what was happening, because I thought at least that the UK was pretty much impenetrable. You know what I'm trying to say, from that kind of influence. Thank you. And yet it's not, and that means nobody is.
Nothing is impenetrable, and I thought this. Well, I think if you can remember me saying, and I'm not sure if it was at it may have been at an INCO conference. It was some time ago, and I stood up and said, look, one of the biggest problems to come is if we don't do, or at least try and bring in some regulations regarding disposables, it's going to be a real problem. And everybody shouted and said, no, they're the best. I mean, they're the best.
I agreed with you.
Bread.
I agreed with you.
You did. Thank you.
You
were
and
one
I
of
brought
very
that up,
few.
and everybody shouted us down.
Yes, they did. And I knew it's not a hill worth dying for. It's not because I disagree, per se. I do disagree from an environmental point of view, because I'm quite interested in the environment, for my son when he grows up. Well, actually, he's 42, but one day he will grow up. But
I love how moms have hope.
Yeah, shut up, Nancy. Jackie, are you trying to say to me? I can see your hand up.
Yeah. And I've posted it on Twitter a few times. When I was doing a UK survey where it was like ban disposables, this one story just stood right out to me. And I screen captured it and felt the need to share it. Mm-hmm. And it talked about a woman who had quit smoking many years ago. And she had her father living with her. And he had dementia.
So he had dementia, I read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is a fine example there. And I know Clive just put out, there's a link for one survey, and I can even copy paste it.
It's the UK survey thing, right? That do this like next week?
Yeah, no, it was a survey on who buys what.
Oh, okay.
And it actually showcased that the vast majority of those 65 plus were the ones buying the disposables in supermarkets and convenience stores. They
don't have to fiddle with coils and wicks and all that other stuff.
Simple stuff. But, there's an example. But, there's this person who has dementia. I'm presuming she gets him a cigarette flavored one. So he thinks he's smoking. But, she can't have him smoking in the house because obviously the smell. but it's like he would drop them. And if that was a cigarette, that's a fire hazard.
Yeah. Or if
So
it was a
not a-
cigarette on oxygen, that's kaboom.
Well, yeah. Well, he's dementia, so I don't know if he's on. But still, like, there's an example there of a place for him. So again, does it need to be where, if they're in grocery stores, do they need to be behind locked cabinets where the adult has to ask for them? You know, and what about enforcement? Because a lot of this is really boiling down to enforcement. And people keep forgetting these are teenagers and they are breaking the law. Nobody talks about them breaking the law. It's about save them. Well, hello, they're little brats and they're breaking the law.
And their parents, actually, by the time these people, which I can never understand, Jackie. I've had a son. I have a son, but I would know. My mother would know. You know, I tell this story often, but I knew the game was up. I continued to smoke. It's just that I then had to leave my cigarettes in a plastic bag under a stone in a wood on the way home, because she'd found the last hiding place in the Monopoly box on the top of the wardrobe, at the back of the wardrobe, you know, and it was under, Mayfair
but
and
it's
Go.
like,
Do not collect £200, and she found my cigarettes. Because, but apparently now nobody ever goes into their children's room because, hey, it's their
privacy.
My mother wouldn't have given a damn. It's like if she thought I was
well, yeah,
smoking,
but
she'd find them.
we grew up in a very, very different generation. You know, like my mom was a single mom, and she did the best she could.
I was a single mother as well, and I'm not sure I did the best I could, but hey, that's another question. But no, I mean, seriously, I think they all blame everybody, but they never blame themselves. I've never heard any parent say, I actually, really should have looked out for this, because I've read everything about them and I should have done some more.
Yeah,
other than saying this is now
again, you can't be a helicopter parent, because your kids are going to screw up. That's how they learn things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they blame everybody else. But I will say, and I think this is very important, because again, at the UKVIA, I saw a real change with a lot of big vaping companies, which was very good. It's enlightening. I mean, for instance, there were disposable ones, but I don't know if any of you seen them, but they're cardboard.
Okay. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So try them at GTNF. Yeah, those cardboard ones.
Yeah, cardboard with a little rubber, stopper at the front, and a little, a mouthpiece at the top, which is rubber, and a little tiny rubber bung at the bottom. And you could take those two things out, and then you could just recycle the thing, and stick it in wherever it is for batteries. If there's a will, there's a way, and we are changing. The other thing, that we had a huge contingent from China who manufactured, and it was, again, it's important to get them on board to see the problem, because it's far better for the Chinese manufacturers to try and do something in their own country regarding illegal imports, which is one of the biggest problems, is illegal.
But when you ban something, you just hand it over to them.
Yeah.
Can I leave you guys to it for about 5 minutes so I can run to the little girl's room?
Sure, no problem. We'll behave.
Yes, 5 minutes only, please.
Okay. I did want to do a little shout out to some other Canadians who do a lot of work behind the scenes. And you've got Marion, and you've got Janie. Well, you know Janie.
Yep.
And there's Monique, and because I'm with another little group who has been in talks with people in Health Canada, who actually wanted to listen to lived experiences. And we're all over 50, but Marion plugs away because Ontario this last week announced that they were going to do the double tax on vaping.
Yes.
And a few days later, Yukon Territories announced that they were going to do the same thing. So Marion is the queen of emails. So she went on an email campaign, and she actually heard back from one of them. And she was saying, they were telling her that they personally don't know much about vaping. So they turned to the experts. And who are the experts? They're the NGOs, the anti-smoking people, who don't have a freaking clue.
Apparently, who haven't got a clue, no.
Yeah. And she was just saying, no, you need to speak to people with lived experience, the adults themselves. And, you know, with Yukon Territory and all of the territories basically up there, they have the highest smoking rates in Canada because it's a lot of First Nations people.
Touching on that, Jackie, and I think, again, I mean, Jan, and hello, Nancy, that was quick. This lived experience and the importance of the consumers, and knowing, of course, that in tobacco harm reduction, you know, it's verboten. It's the one thing the WHO give us no mind whatsoever. We are not acknowledged, and if we are acknowledged, it's in a negative way. Because
we're all shills. We're all
shills for big tobacco.
Yeah.
And I don't know any product at all that's refined and changed and modified that actually you don't have the people who use it involved. I mean, can you imagine them sort of changing? Imagine making rules about cars, or imagine making rules about changes to safety in airplanes, or in fact anything at all.
Yeah.
And them saying, no, I've never actually been in an aircraft. In fact, I don't know what it's like. I've never driven a car, but I know that they're dangerous. I know that they're dangerous. It's as if you're missing out the people who know. And I've always said this, we are the experts.
Yeah.
We are the experts, because it's not as this meeting today, this chat together of different people in different parts of the world, Nancy. This has been going on for how long have we been? And we hear about everything. We could teach them about.
Yeah.
But they don't want to know. That's the point, Jude. They don't want to know.
You know, and I really appreciate that, you know, these few people within Health Canada actually listen to us and that did video conferences with us. And, you know, kudos for them to, you know, have that bravery to listen.
Especially when you know the amount of pressure that they're under, Jax. And I think that's the thing that a lot of us have to take into consideration is that, like for Carolyn, for example, I mean, God knows what the hell is going to happen to her now that she actually joined us, right? Yeah. I mean, it's scary to actually think that that's the world that we're operating in, that medical people are actually operating under that. But that's the reality of it.
Under the fear of,
Under the fear.
It is, and likewise, new doctors. I mean, new doctors, new academics are told in no uncertain terms that, you know, all credibility for anything that they do, if they support tobacco harm reduction and e-cigarettes or snus or heat not burn, any of those safer alternatives, then they are going down a path to destruction. And this is the way that they're training them. And as again, we all know, there are leading scientists that have been told they're going to a conference, and the WHO, and I could say that definitely, have come in and literally sort of warned them and said, if you take part at this conference, you know, I mean, there'll be serious problems. I mean, I think it's called blackmail in every other sort of category.
Yeah, it is blackmail.
It is. But, you know, it makes you, people who do that, this is me being Mrs. Optimistic again, because that's what I do. But people who have to resort to those kind of tactics, they're already on the back foot.
Yeah.
If you think about it. They have all the power, and they're seeing the power slipping away. Okay. That's why we kind of have to keep it up with what we're doing. I mean, but at the same time, we've also got to keep in mind, and Judy, you know, I've been banging on about this for years, is that we've got to support the people that don't have a voice.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who don't have a voice.
And the people that we have to try to convince aren't the people that don't agree with us. It's the people that are on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, totally. And that's why advocacy is so incredibly important, because it doesn't matter what it is. Most really good ideas, whether it's to do with how you look after a baby, things that have changed. I mean, there's a myriad of things, and it's actually, for instance, things that improve that mothers tell other mothers. It's actually explaining that they did it this way, and it's that or the other. And I feel, I mean, talking to this this chap who looked after the Airbnb, this university lad, and I explained slowly, but I take time, which I know all of you do here. You take time, because every one person that you can, when I say convert, that doesn't sound, I don't mean convert, I mean just correct and put facts to them,
Offer hope to.
is a win, and it accretes. That's why we must never give up, because even if you're doing it in a small way, just a chat, speaking to 3 people at a book club, and it comes up, you know, because it's important. We can't do everything on a multi-million scale. We haven't got the money. None of us have got the money to be able to. But this is the other thing. You were asking me this initially, Nancy, is that it is this takeover to newspapers who, let's face it, are struggling. The media now is struggling because it's now moving from literal physical newspaper, and that isn't going to last long. And so they're in this hiatus between, and they're still going to pay their. And so when people come along and say, look, here you go, here's a huge page editorial, then they'll take it. In fact, they'll do a whole series on it. And they did. I mean, The Guardian, which is a left-wing newspaper, which is normally very insightful. It's not like the Daily Mail in the UK. The Guardian did a whole thing about how terrible vaping was.
We were talking about this last night when I had Carrick on, and he was explaining the whole media thing. If you can watch yesterday's live stream, watch the replay where I was talking to Carrick, because he was explaining how media has changed, and that, you know, what once was the Fourth Estate had integrity. There is no integrity, because they're under so much pressure for their revenue, for their advertisers as well. You know, you got to have advertising revenue in order to be able to pay the people that work for you, right? So they're creating these, you know, if something comes across an editor's desk and it's got a sensationalistic headline, okay, and it makes all these crazy claims, it doesn't matter. It's a post-truth world. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. If it gets the clicks and it gets the readership and it gets the viewership, if it's on television, that's all that matters. So the information, it's not about the information. It's about the revenue gathering. Which at that, and I said to him, I believe it's the way I put it, was like, so it's no different than the WHO and tobacco control, because it really ultimately comes down to dollars. And to hell with the truth in journalism, and to hell with the health of the people in public health. Right?
Very well put.
You know, so in 1984, the movie, that's exactly what we brought up. I think that one of the things that I'm seeing progress. I mean, it's slow progress, right? I mean, look at Thailand, look at, you know, Indonesia, look at Malaysia, right? Philippines. We are seeing progress, okay? But what I'm seeing is progress is happening where you guys had progress. Now you're kind of backsliding a bit. And then when we never thought we'd have progress, we're seeing it kind of coming up. And I think this is going to happen. This is the way, you know, the pendulum's going to swing. We're going to keep having these swings in the pendulum. And eventually the science is going to be so overwhelming, and the number of people who are using the products is going to be so overwhelming that they're not going to be able to deny it anymore. That's what I see. I mean, maybe that's me being misidealistic. It's possible. But I can't see it going any other way. It's just a matter of it's going to take time. Jan, speak.
Okay. Well, there was a thing that Carl Phillips did a number of years ago, and it was vaping like as a social contagion. And so it's like, okay, Judy, you're shaking your head.
Oh, I mean,
But
how bad it is contagion, you know? It's a disease.
no, you're misunderstanding a social contagion. So, you know, one person starts vaping and then they talk to 4 of their friends and 4 of their friends start vaping and those friends talk to
I get
4
it.
friends and, you know,
I get
etc.,
it. It's
etc.
allegorical. I recognize that. I just think it's not a great word to, but I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
But it as a
Groupthink.
contagion, but they were right.
Groupthink.
Sorry, go on.
Okay. Right. Right. Contagion. You know, and anyway. Yeah.
No, carry on, Jen. I use that term. It's fine. That's what he used.
Right. Okay.
You lost it, didn't you?
That's my fault. I'm so sorry. I wasn't meaning you used the wrong word. I meant it's amazing
I
don't know how you felt about that, because it's like
I used the wrong word.
No, you didn't. No,
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Well, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
There just isn't.
But the point I think is made.
I've used a word that a contagion is something that spreads.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a positive or negative connotation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I understand. My bad.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, I mean, and it's true. And that's exactly what's happening with all of this is that, you know, they're planting those seeds planting the seed. Let's just say, I'm going to use the garden analogy because, you know, I'm a geek. They're planting the seeds, right? And they're watering the seeds, you know, with whatever and, you know, feeding it effluent. But, you know, eventually the plant's going to die because it's not a stable, it's not being nurtured the right way. Okay. Let's just say it that way. It's like a throwaway. It's like fast fashion. It's a, you know, they say that vaping is a fad, but actually the way they're handling this and the way they're handling their ideas, they're not really putting a lot of thought into it, because if they were putting a lot of thought into it, it would be the same story in every country. They're running it like a campaign. They're not running it like anything beyond, you know, just like a marketing campaign or a Benetton campaign. That's what I see. And yeah, you give somebody an idea, it's like playing telephone, you know, and it spreads that way. And yeah, Jane, it is a contagion. It's a contagion of misinformation.
Well, yeah. Well, we have a number of contagions, and yeah, you know, some of them are good and some of them are bad. Yeah. Anyway, I've completely lost my train
It's
of
okay.
thought.
No, it's cool. I wanted to ask you something because I wasn't entirely sure. Are we going to get snus and oral nicotine now?
I think we're going to at least get nicotine pouches.
Yeah.
Don't know about snus. I think maybe the excise tax would be too high, it being a tobacco product.
Yeah.
But we may well get back snus. Oh, well, sorry, nicotine pouches. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as we get the low ones, I'm good. But, you know, anything above, you know, 1.6, I'm destroyed. But yeah, I thought of you. I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute, Jan's gonna be able to get on a plane and be a happy girl.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I still have a little stock that I have put aside.
Yeah. Canada just allowed oral nicotine pouches as a smoking cessation aid. They've labeled it as a smoking cessation aid, the one product.
Okay, Jackie, do you need a prescription or?
No, you don't need a prescription for it. They can buy it in the convenience store. And
Brilliant.
I guess soon it will be available in drugstores too.
Fabulous.
That's good.
because here cigarettes cannot be sold in a grocery store or in a pharmacy. The only place you can buy them is in a convenience store or in a specialty smoke shop.
Okay, I
And
was not aware of that.
that went through about 15 years ago or so.
So you can't get them in the supermarket. So you can't pick up your groceries and get a pack of fags. You have to go to a
No,
separate store.
no, you have to go to the Max Milk or the Circle K or the 7-Eleven
Oh,
or a specialty smoke shop. Which
You guys still have reservations there, though, don't you? So you can go to the
Oh, yeah.
reservation by
Oh yeah, you can buy reservations or you can buy black market cigarettes for about $5 a pack, apparently.
because we used to buy them from the reservation back in New York because that was because the taxes were so high. You just go to the reservation and buy a couple cartons.
Yeah, and that's probably a sad part, and I brought that up with my submission to Health Canada when they were doing their review, which is supposed to be on tobacco use.
Yeah.
That you have people in reservations who, they bring in people who buy these reservation cigarettes, and that's a huge revenue for them. Yes, so how do you tackle reducing the smoking rate, which among the First Nations people and those who identify in those Aboriginal terms, tobacco is ceremonial to them.
Yep.
So yes, you have to respect that, but when you're many of the reservations and that, or places like Yukon Territories and that, they have banned flavors with vapes, but they're essentially keeping their population smoking.
It's a source of revenue. I mean, it's the same thing in Kenya, I believe. You've got the same issue in Kenya. South Africa, it's illicit. In a lot of countries, that's a very common thing. And that's why when I was talking to Lindsay before, and we were talking about the tobacco farm, the production of tobacco, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she thinks 150 something people. I say about 130 people just to get one person smoking. It's an entire industry and people's livelihoods, and that's all they've ever done.
Yeah.
So what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, but they're banning or they're severely restricting vaping products, which provide them with a safer form of nicotine, which gets them to stop smoking, improves their health, allows elders to live longer and pass down generations of heritage.
But they have to have a choice, Jax. We can't tell them what to do. We don't want people telling us what to do, so why should we tell them what to do? That's just another form of colonialism.
I understand that, but I'm saying that they should be available to them, and they should be given the factual information so they can make their own decisions.
Yeah, that's the key thing, isn't it? Make your own decision, and I think that's the. That's the one tenet which I think most people would hold true, is that people should be enabled to make their own decision. Obviously, if you're young and so on, but one has responsibility to look after youth. But as I said, I think I came in at the beginning there, and people were talking about when we were younger. I mean, I know that. You were saying so we had sort of smoking places at school or whatever. I mean, I've said this many times, but I'd have a guitar. I'd have my guitar. I'd put my cigarette in, the strings. Well, I mean, the little wire strings would go curly whirly at the end when you do a guitar, and so I'd put my cigarette on that. I mean, the cigarette would sort of bounce around a bit while I was singing, "We Shall Overcome" and Bob Dylan songs, and I would be found in the first cigarette on the left in the toilets. I mean, if people wanted to know where I was, I'd be there, and I'd go into. Is Jan gone?
I think she's gone to fill up a wine glass or use the ladies. Carry on.
Oh, lucky Jan. But I would go into my geography class late as usual. It started very early, Nancy. I know you love me, really. And literally there'd be sort of two or three of us, and they'd say, will the Benson and Hedges please sit at the back? Then we don't have to smell you. Yes. Now moving on, and it was. Now we're all still alive. Look, I'll be 71 next birthday, and it's this suggestion that everybody that uses a vape now is going to be vaping and presumably they think possibly smoking in 30 or 40 years' time. Well, they're not. I mean, because that's not how it works. They might.
They
No.
might, if they ban it all and nobody has access to it, they might go back to smoking. And now we've just proven our point, haven't we? Because now we vaped and now we're back to smoking. That's what they're trying to do.
That's how it would work. And again, I presumably all yous have got similar situations. You're talking about black market cigarettes. Now, I bought when I was probably when I'd been in Thailand, it was some time ago, or a country of that nature. And I bought back for my son, which some people would say, well, I shouldn't. But, if you've got a son who's age, 30 and he smokes, I mean, he smokes, that's how it is. So I bought him 200 cigarettes because obviously they were a lot cheaper. But I said, you have to pay me for them. But they were only, he said, and they were a fraction of the cost. And he said, Mum, trust me, I can get those down from the lower high street for cheaper than that. I can't even sell them at that price. This was half price. This is in the UK.
The amount of tax that is on a pack of cigarettes is just, it's a cash cow for governments. I mean, and if you think about it in those terms, then you can kind of understand why they play lip service to wanting people to stop smoking, because really they don't. Because you look at the MSA, so this is the thing. All right. And this is the thing that we've been trying to do in Asia. And when people go and talk to their government guys, they're like, listen, like in Malaysia, for example, listen, if you make these things legal, you can put a proportionate tax on it. You'll make money out of it. I mean, that's kind of how a lot of regulation is happening in Asia Pacific, is by not just convincing them of the science, but it's money. Because really, that's what it boils down to. It boils down to money.
Yeah, no, that is one thing that, again, and I'm sure most of you have read the UK suggestions on tobacco, which they brought up. The government explained it about 2-3 weeks ago, which includes taxing e-cigarettes, but it doesn't say, it didn't suggest how. So, whether that would be on nicotine in e-liquid or whether it's going to be on the actual hardware or whatever, I don't know. But again, they're making it quite clear that being mindful of the difference in price and the importance of, so that they're saying this, but it's like, well, it's insidious. Once you start taxing it, tax, as far as I'm concerned, only ever goes up.
No, it never goes away.
It could stay still for a year, but it never goes down, ever.
No, it doesn't. I mean, and that's one of the things that we're going to have to watch, Jan, too, because she's like, because, I can see that happening. I mean, especially with all these in politics, all these promises of all the stuff they're going to do. Where are they going to get the money from?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to pull it out of their butts. They're going to have to find a way of doing it, and they're going to pull that money from wherever they possibly can. And it's blackmail, but you kind of have to do this whole thing where you have to. It's a compromise.
Exactly.
As much as that compromise sucks, it's a compromise because they got to make up the money from the tobacco taxes they're losing anyway. So
it's just being realistic. If more and more people are all switching to vaping, and the amount of money, as you rightly state just a minute ago, we all know the amount that the government make on the taxes they receive from cigarette sales, tobacco sales. If that keeps on dwindling and alternative nicotine, safer nicotine products take the fall, then they're going to have to try and get that money from somewhere. And I'm, providing it's reasonable.
Yeah.
With a big R.
Hold on, Jan wants to say something. Jan?
Well, actually, our previous government got caught in that tax loophole because they were going to restrict sales of cigarettes, only have very low nicotine cigarettes. So the idea that nobody was supposed to smoke, and it was pointed out actually to the Minister of Finance that he might have a shortfall in his budget, and it was something of a revelation, and then they had to kind of like fudge around it.
Yeah, it's just, girls, ladies, I gotta call you girls because we're all women. Ladies, we've actually hit an hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really late for Jax. It's really early for Judy, and it's getting late for Jan and I. So let's wrap it up, but I want final thoughts from each one of you. Let's start with Jackie. Final thoughts.
Well, like the big issue right now in Canada is the whole double tax thing. Okay. Because you're taxed by volume. So if it's a disposable, it's like a $2 tax. So if you double it, that's $4.
Yeah.
But, like I DIY and I enjoy doing it. But if I want to buy a 1 liter bottle of nicotine base, which I can only get in 20 milligrams maximum, that's $104 in tax. And then you have Ontario who double taxed it. So now that's suddenly $208. Plus add on their 15% GST, PST combo.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So again, it's like they're forcing everyone to go over to the disposables, which they claim all youth are using. Mm-hmm. Over to the pod system, which are made by the big tobacco companies. So they're basically forcing it all over to the products that are made by big tobacco. And vaping began with small independent shops with one-on-one consultation, helping out the little guy. Yep. And kudos to them. Like even within the vape industry, you have your big players and your little players. And, for many people, it was that one-on-one support. Because, I'm talking like back 8 years ago when you had lounge couches and things like that in there. The old days, where it was a community.
We had it too, and it's now become commercialized because now the tobacco companies and the regulations and everything else, it's lost that community thing.
Right now, I don't think the politicians understand it. Like, people have no places to live because they can't afford the rentals. Grocery prices have skyrocketed, and you have people who have given up smoking with a consumer-based product, because it's consumers helping consumers with compassion. And you're taxing them for the act of quitting smoking.
Yep. It's disgusting, is what it is. Yeah. It's disgusting. Yeah. It is. And I mean, the only thing, I don't know what to tell you. The only thing I can hope is that when this COP finally does happen, that they don't change the rules about consensus and keep it consensus and not majority rules, because there'll be at least 4 or 5 delegations going in there telling them for what they're trying to do. That's all I can, come up with. Jan, final thoughts?
I would say watch this space, which is this really little country called New Zealand. We've been doing pretty well so far in getting smoking rates down, and basically on track to a smoke-free, which is a 5% or less smoking rate in 2025, without adding in nicotine cigarettes, having only a very limited number of stores that sell cigarettes, and what was the other one?
Well, I mean, we've managed to do it without limiting retail sales for tobacco. We've managed to do it without
limiting.
nicotine.
Yep.
We're managing to do it without the generational end game.
Generational end game. Yeah, which was never going to do it anyway. Generational end game was never going to get to the smoke-free 2025 target. It just is, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, see what happens.
And then, Judy.
Well, I think my two erstwhile colleagues have probably said almost similar to what I would say. I think certainly we're in the UK, speaking from the UK's point of view, we're very much now at the moment again it's a transition. But I'm hoping things will go well in that department. I would love, I don't know if many of you managed to see, I'm sure you did, some of the e-cigarette summit, which I was supposed to go to but couldn't, but the e-cigarette summit, and some incredible scientists there, some of the best in the world. I would just love for them to be the sort of people who are appearing on major news programs. When I say news, but where you talk about politics in depth and so on. I know this is completely off kilter, but if only they were given a major stage more often. At the moment, they haven't, because just to sort of change this pervasive misinfodemic that we still have, that to me is still one of the biggest problems we have, is the misinformation. And I guess we've just got to have the motivation to keep on going to change it. But if you listen to all those scientists and what's being said, it's all there. It's only if they could just get it in the newspapers, but they don't pay money, so there we are. But anyway, upwards and onwards, I guess.
Well, we've got Skip has a couple of final thoughts. I'm going to show them and then I'll do mine really quick because you guys pretty much covered it. Skip's first final thought is don't give up. Agreed. Absolutely. Exactly. Support, not stigma. Yes.
Mm.
Be kind. You can be firm and you can be strong and you can be assertive, but you don't have to be a jackass. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Take the high road. And then the last thought from Skip, tell your story. Don't let them shut you up. They might try to shut down doctors and they might try to shut down scientists, but really these people work for us. We're the boss, even if they don't choose not to acknowledge it. Ladies, I thank you for joining me. We should do this again sometime. We probably will. I'm guessing whenever the COP is held again, we'll be doing it again.
Thank you very much.
I thank you guys for coming. I thank
you, Nancy.
For us.
Thank you, Nancy.
I'll see you guys down the road. I'm going to end this stream and so everybody can go back to their lives. So
I can go back to bed.
2:07 here.
Yeah.